Who are you going to call when you need someone to fall asleep to? Podcasters. Podcasters. That's right. We're back. It's time for another
We
episode
are back.
of talking about Paul Rudd's Duds.
For more than 100 years, the world has been fascinated by the movies. The movies.
This is Pulp Fantasy. It's a show where we look at the history of movies and ask the most important question, who's winning? My name is Rochel if you're nasty.
My name is Ruth, and I am so ready to dig into the realm of films we have today.
Yes. We have four very interesting movies to talk about today.
Yes. I love how varied this slate is.
Yes. They're varied, and yet they really speak to an ongoing continuum of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it goes from what franchises were in the early 90s to what franchises are in 2025.
Yes, very much so. It's also a real sort of history of special effects, I feel like. I was thinking about effects
Very true.
a lot through this
So was I. I feel like personally, I don't think any of the movies we're talking about today are very good, but you know, effects is of course a category that is on the table,
Yep.
and I think all these movies are in that conversation. And also, there's a lot to be said about the limitations of the effects in pretty much all these movies.
Yeah, they show their age, all of them, including
They
the
do.
recent ones.
They really do.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all very of their time.
Yes.
But before we dig into it, we like to touch base on what we've been vibing with recently. And since our last episode, we have both seen The Toxic Avenger.
Yes, I have been waiting so long. Years I have been waiting for this movie to come out.
Literally. Yeah.
And it lived up to expectations by leaps and bounds. I remember looking up this movie and just first being like, damn, they're making a Toxic Avenger remake? That's wild. And Peter Dinklage is in it? Okay, I'm paying attention. And it's like the most fun I've had at the movies in ages. It's so much fun and so just like a breath of fresh air, you know? And like the remake, reboot, whatever franchise trend that we're going to be talking about a lot today, the Toxic Avenger just feels like a bunch of people who just had a lot of fun making a movie, which I love. Frontwards and backwards. Love it.
Yeah. I think it checked all my boxes in a major way. What I said to you is that every movie I make from now on, this is going to be on the mood board for it, because it really does kind of encapsulate all the things that I like to pursue as an artist in terms of practical effects and, you know, psychedelic kind of visuals and wall-to-wall jokes. I really love that all the locations in the movie are called like the corporate fartplex and the shithead district and all that. Yeah. I love when he checks his bank account and there's a little mascot of like a trumpet that says "You're destitute."
It is a movie where I feel like if I had come in with more background knowledge about Trauma Pictures and about the original, I might have slightly different opinions, because the people I'm seeing who are not as ecstatic about it are the people who love old school Trauma, because I think this is a lot cleaner than, and it's sort of it's a whole different type of movie because it's made in a whole different era of genre filmmaking. But in that way, I liked that it kind of crossed that bridge between the like really disgusting, grimy, nasty, and sort of the fun that you can do these days with the technology that we have now.
Yeah, to me it really feels like I think it's definitely like more sanitized than some of those old Trauma pictures. It does have a lot of blood and gore and nudity and violence, and it has all the elements there, and the same like sort of twisted sense of humor. But but I think it also is sort of a bridge between that and sort of the indie cinema like scene of the last few years in terms of like, I mean, it reminded me of People's Joker in a lot of ways. It reminded me of some of the other like Bloody Disgusting pictures, the, you know, Terrifier 3 and I got trailers for some of the other things that they're putting out. They're putting out Silent Night, Deadly Night remake. They're doing... when I saw this movie, I got a trailer for the new Silent Hill movie.
Me too. I got it twice.
Twice, yes. And I was surprised to see that it's directed by the guy who did the first Silent Hill movie.
When I saw this movie, when I saw Toxic Avenger, I saw the Silent Hill movie trailer twice. I saw the advertised at your local theater ad maybe 7 or 8 times, which the people behind us were very mad about. And I wanted to just turn around and be like, this movie didn't get distributed. Nobody wants to advertise on this movie. Calm the fuck down. It's out. Watch it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, the one thing about the Silent Hill trailer that was really funny to me is that the tagline for the movie was "You live here now."
A tagline can do so much. I went and saw Moonfall specifically because the tagline was "This time the moon comes to us."
Yeah, to us. Yeah, I think. I look back on, I think it was Legendary who was going to distribute the movie, and they said it was unreleasable.
Feels like a gimmick.
Get that?
To be honest.
Yeah, maybe. It definitely, in a world where Terrifier 3 made like $15 million, this movie is very releasable.
There's like one dick in the whole movie. Like... It's not.
Yeah.
And I went and saw, the week before, I went and saw Primitive War, another delightful B movie coming out of Australia that felt...
Jeremy Piven,
Jeremy
right?
Piven is like the one named actor that people know in the movie, and he's great. He plays the B movie villain, the just like screaming, chewing the scenery, like nonsense dude who like needed a paycheck so well. He's just like spitting in dudes' faces. For people who don't know, Primitive War is a fantastic, weird little movie about a bunch of Vietnam soldiers sent to find like a missing battalion, and then they end up finding dinosaurs, and they have to fight dinosaurs in the jungles of Vietnam. And they find out that the person behind it all is like an evil Russian military dude or whatever. And it is a hoot, and it looked gorgeous for how low budget it was. And I am now so looking forward to see what this guy does next. I can't remember his name off the top of my head because I had never heard of him before, but he knows how to make a damn good cheap movie, and I am thrilled.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to check that out before the end of the year. Just yesterday I was in New York and I went to a screening of The Man in My Basement with Corey Hawkins and Willem Dafoe. A very interesting movie. It's based on a Walter Mosley novel, and it's about this guy who kind of ends up with the family home, and this Corey Hawkins, and it's like been in the family for like 8 generations, and he like doesn't have a job and needs to like find a way to make money quickly or he has to move out. So he ends up letting this strange businessman, played by Willem Dafoe, live in his basement.
Hell yeah.
And things get very weird. It has, it's really about sort of like living in an old house and kind of like the ghosts that come with that. It's definitely a ghost story. There's something very interesting in how Willem Dafoe's character never interacts with anyone other than him. No one else ever even sees him. One character hears him at one point in an interesting scene. It was just a really interesting movie. It was very thoughtful and very like kind of academic in a way, but it also had a lot of sort of like horror light kind of thrills to it, and one really cool sequence involving an old TV. Fun movie.
I love that. I'm gonna have to check that out.
I think it's going to be on Hulu this weekend.
Noted.
But yeah, I think we have a lot to say about the movies that we're going to be talking about. So
let's dive in.
We can dive in. Do we want to go chronologically again?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So that means we're starting with Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think we established on the last episode that I've only seen the first original Halloween movie. I haven't even seen the more recent Halloween Kills remakes or anything. So this was truly my second Halloween movie ever.
Yeah, this was my third, having seen the original and the 2018 one. There's some history that I want to get into, but as like an initial note, I found myself like, okay, if this movie is about Tommy and the Strodes and like Laurie's half sister and all these characters and Dr. Loomis and all, like, what were the other ones about?
Yeah, I had to look up the timeline of Halloween movies because I knew that it was convoluted. Yeah. But this is sort of the end of the first timeline, or this is the end of one of the timelines, and so it's sort of a weird. Removed from the original by like 5 steps of other weird movies that were between now and then.
Yeah, after this they get into H2O and then the Rob Zombie reboot. Like, this is sort of the last one that's like in theory in a continuous line. And at first watching it, I thought that it had been 6 years since Michael Myers' first attack, and then I was like, well, what have the other movies been about? So I looked it up and I find out that there was the first attack. The second movie takes place the same day. Then there's a 10-year leap, and of course the third one is unrelated. But then the fourth and fifth ones are about another attack in 1988, 10 years after the first one, and then this one is 6 years after that.
Yeah. Well, as we're trying to... Do you want to dive into the history first, or should we give people a sense of what happens in this movie?
Well, how about you tell them what happens in this movie, and then we'll get into the history.
Okay. This is... I loved how surreal this movie was. It does make it hard to explain the plot of this movie. Because we open in a, like, cult underground ceremony and a woman giving birth. And it's quite a start to a movie. And we basically figure out that this is Laurie's daughter, who we had previously met in previous Halloween movies that I had not seen, having her baby. So now, like, Laurie, and by extension, like, the last person of, like, Michael's sort of family tree. Because in this timeline, Laurie and Michael are, of course, siblings.
That's right.
Which is important. And then it sort of goes to the town of Haddonfield, and we meet Tommy, the kid who was being babysat during that first attack in the first movie, played by Paul Rudd. Delightful how much he's in this movie. I really thought he was not going to be a main character, and then he was, and that was great.
Yeah.
And we find out that there are new Strouds living in the house, and that the town is trying to move on, and the high schoolers are trying to bring Halloween back, but Michael Myers is coming back. And things kind of escalate from there into this convoluted mess of Michael trying to kill his family tree because of a curse from like a long time ago. Donald Pleasance is back. Tommy's like one of the only people that can see what's going on. And I guess what would even the relation of the main character, like the main lady, like what is her relation to Laurie? It's hard to tell because of like the way the family tree kind of breaks down.
Yeah, I think so. Laurie was adopted by the Strodes because she's actually Michael's sister, and I believe, I don't know if Jamie was adopted too, but I think they're like I think they're like half sisters basically.
Yeah. So the half sister and Paul Rudd, aka Tommy, are trying to save this baby from Michael Myers for the entire movie.
Yeah, it adds, it's an interesting new sort of kind of Michael Myers movie when you get a baby into the mix.
Yeah. It's real nonsense. I had no idea what was happening. I kept on my toes the whole time. I was scared by this movie. It scared me.
There were scary moments. The opening text of this movie is Mustafa Akkad presents Donald Pleasance in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, starring and introducing Paul Rudd. Stephen Rudd.
Yes, I was surprised. I went, Steve? Who's Steve?
Who's this Steve guy?
Who's this Paul Steve Rudd?
It's very interesting that the first name credited... Well, the first name credited is Mustafa Akkad, who I want to get into. It is also interesting that Donald Pleasance is the first, because obviously he's like the only actor from the original who's in this.
He's the first name credited, well, the first actor credited, and the first actor to come up in the credits, because at the very end, we of course learn that Donald Pleasance has died, and the movie's dedicated to him. So the whole thing is really wrapped up in Donald Pleasance.
It really is, even though he's not the most substantial part of the story, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But to really tell the story of this movie, you have to start with Mustafa Akkad.
Yeah.
The story of the Halloween franchise was the story of Mustafa Akkad up until his death. He died in 2005 in an Al-Qaeda bombing. And that's true.
I did not know that.
There's a very good line from his Wikipedia in the legacy section. The honors bestowed upon him were gestures of love, but they could never replace the man, M-, nor undo the tragedy that took him away, ... I've never seen a Wikipedia page end with ellipses.
That's just how special he is. He gets ellipses.
Yeah, it feels like the text crawl from a Halloween movie.
Yeah. They'll never be able to replace him. ... But then the body's not there.
Here's the story of how Mustafa Akkad got involved in the Halloween franchise. He and his producing partner, Irwin Yablans, saw John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13 at the Milan Film Festival in 1976. They loved it. So they go to John Carpenter and they say, we want you to make a movie about a serial killer who stalks babysitters. They come with that suggestion and pitch it to John Carpenter. And that's how the whole series begins.
Damn, I did not realize that.
So John Carpenter is obviously very instrumental in the first one, kind of involved in the second and third one, and then sort of drifts away from the project after that, and Mustafa Akkad becomes really the steward of it. And Halloween 4 is something of a box office success. So Mustafa Akkad says we need to start building out a franchise. And in Halloween 5, he starts to incorporate these other elements of Michael's lore. He introduces the Man in Black at the end of Halloween 5, and he introduces the thorn symbol, the sort of runic symbol, which is a big part of the Michael lore in this movie. He said in Fangoria, quote, "The days where each movie was an independent story unto itself are over."
The days are numbered, but hilariously, this Michael Myers movie is not numbered.
This one is not numbered. It's true, and it's a bit of a prophetic idea there. I think.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Halloween 5 flopped.
Yeah.
It earned the least of any Halloween movie up to that point, and that's saying a lot because, again, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch has nothing to do with the other Halloween movies.
Yeah, which is why it's one of the best ones.
I keep hearing great things, and it was John Carpenter's idea to be like, we should make this an anthology of unrelated stories that happen on Halloween. Yeah. And you could kind of see every time John Carpenter tries to come into the franchise, he's like, we can't just do Michael Myers again.
I love that I'm sort of learning that John Carpenter doesn't seem to give a shit about Michael Myers, which is,
Yeah.
He's famously, whenever anyone wants to remake one of his movies, just holds his hand out for the check. And like he said, like, I don't give a shit, which I love. I love that for him. But this is feeling even more like John Carpenter's like, whatever.
Yeah. I think he's right that, like, you have Michael Myers and Haddonfield and Laurie and all that, and you can only really go back to that well so many times.
Yeah.
Like, it's only kind of worked like twice when they've tried to go back to it.
Yeah. And even like the more recent ones, in theory, should have almost followed more of the track of the older ones. Like, everything I've seen about the more recent ones talk about how, like, in the second one, it's just sort of, they don't know what to do. Because, like, they did Michael Myers again. And now it's like, well, we did, like, how do you continue this thing that was never really meant to continue? So let's just try for the, like, 5th time to come up with a sequel to Halloween. And then they were like, in the third one, they were like, what if we did something new? And it sounded much more interesting to me than any of the other Halloween sequels ever had.
Yeah, I have to credit a book that was instrumental in learning about this history. The book is Taking Shape 2, The Lost Halloween Sequels by Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins. It's literally an entire book about Halloween movies that did not get made.
I love it.
So Mustafa Akkad starts fielding pitches for Halloween 6. They drop the director of Halloween 5 after it flops, and they're like, how can we build from this? Who can we get? One of those pitches is from 21-year-old Daniel Ferens. His idea was rejected, but he gave Akkad an extensive Bible of everything that had happened in the Halloween movies up to that point. So he was like, okay, I could use this. This movie was originally supposed to come out in October 1990. That release date was missed completely because he was still fielding pitches, and then another year passed, and then another year passed, and then by 1993, 3 years after it was supposed to come out, the guy who played Michael in Halloween 5 got asked like what's going on with the next one, and he said that Mustafa Akkad reached out to him like a year ago to see if he was still interested, and that they had a great script, but he hadn't heard anything since then.
Classic. So
after years and years of waiting, the rights to Halloween go up for bidding again. So Mustafa Akkad has to make a pitch for the rights to Halloween. He goes in with Miramax, aka the Weinsteins. Miramax had a new studio, Dimension Films, and they had picked up the Hellraiser series and the Children of the Corn series. They were basically looking to kind of build out a horror catalog and then, like, you know, make new genre films with that label. Of course, Dimension ends up being kind of successful for a while. The only problem is there was another major bidder who was trying to get a hold of the franchise, John Carpenter.
Yeah. trying to get back
John
those
Carpenter,
original the masters, if you will.
Yeah, John Carpenter was not trying to make Taylor's version. He wanted those masters back. And he had a new pitch with New Line, who owned like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw. They were like the studio that did the big horror movies at that time. And his pitch was Michael Myers is sent to space.
Yes.
He said, they send Michael Myers to space because they can't kill him. He escapes and gets onto a space station. It's like Alien, but with Michael Myers.
Isn't that the plot of Jason X? Jason in space?
Parts of it, it has a lot in common with Jason X.
Damn.
Something you'll find is that Halloween and Friday the 13th end up eating each other's lunch a lot.
Yeah, which is too bad that we've never gotten Jason versus Michael Myers, because Jason versus Freddy is like so fun, and they were gonna make a sequel to it, but
I guess
throw Michael in the mix.
I guess Jason and Michael both like don't talk and wear a mask and have kind of the same vibe going on.
I don't know. I think there's a fun movie there.
Could be.
What if we unmasked Michael Myers and it was also Jason, and it was just the same guy the whole time?
What if under the white mask there was a hockey mask?
Exactly. They pull off and the hands shaking as the mask pulls off, and it's the hockey mask. Oh my god.
Anyway, Mustafa Akkad's bid ultimately works. So now he's got Halloween back, but he has to. He has someone else to answer to. He has to work with Bob Weinstein to make it happen. Bob Weinstein brings on Gary Fleeter, who had worked on Tales from the Crypt, to direct. Gary Fleeter brings his buddy, who had no agent, had never had a screenplay produced before, Phil Rosenberg. And Phil Rosenberg's first draft was called Halloween 666, The Origin. It would have followed a journalist visiting Haddonfield and discovering Michael Myers' supernatural origin. Miramax liked that script. Mustafa Akkad did not. So Gary Fleeter ends up dropping out. Phil Rosenberg is still there. He is a first-time screenwriter, and his friend left the project. So that was just him trying to deal with the Weinsteins and fucking Mustafa Akkad here. Yeah. But the Weinsteins are like, we're going to get our best guy on this. They get their golden boy, Quentin Tarantino.
Yes. I was vaguely aware he was attached to this movie at one point.
So Tarantino does have a pitch. Mm-hmm. He wants it to be a road movie with Michael and the Man in Black, like leaving a trail of bodies on Route 66. You know,
Hell
like
yeah.
the like exactly what a Tarantino Michael Myers movie would be.
Yeah.
But he ends up using some of those ideas in Natural Born Killers, but he ends up being like, I don't really want to direct this. They also asked Roger Avery. They also offered Tarantino the chance to produce. They were really trying to get Tarantino in the mix for a while. In all those cases, they walked away. However, Tarantino would also later flirt with producing a Friday the 13th movie in the 2000s.
Here we go. Jason and Michael on the road. Road trip movie.
Jason and Michael on the road. Yeah. Once Upon a Time in Haddonfield.
Yes. They're doing sign language back and forth.
Yeah. They're holding up signs like Wile E. Coyote. So Tarantino offers them a suggestion for who might be good to direct it. Scott Spiegel, who was best known for co-writing Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. Oh, I know Scott.
We know Scott. Bob Weinstein liked him. Mustafa Akkad agreed to have him polish up the screenplay and to consider him to direct. But then Scott Spiegel read the screenplay and said, I can't work with this. His quote was, "It was really unfocused and corny." He said
hilarious.
He couldn't crack it.
Hilarious, especially if you watch Scott Spiegel's shorts that he made when he was a kid. Like, sure, Scott.
So now Phil Rosenberg was the sole creative attached to the project once again. One of the big studio notes for Halloween 666 was that it had to incorporate VR.
Ooh.
That was, I guess that was something that like the Weinsteins were into. It might have had something to do with Lawnmower Man being such a success around that time.
Yeah.
But they were like, you've got to work VR into this movie somehow.
This is all just aiming up to be like the greatest Halloween movie. Of just like, it's got to have VR. We had Scott attached to it. We got Tarantino attached to it. Like, if all of these things had come together instead of just like slowly shedding people and ideas, damn, we would have had a crazy movie.
We would have had, and all of these ideas would have changed the Halloween franchise forever.
Oh yeah. We would not have gotten the like sad, we brought John Carpenter back to do the score, like legacy sequels that we had. We would have like a weird franchise.
Yeah, it's like we ended up with sort of the least consequential version of the movie, which is just Michael Myers goes back to Haddonfield and does Halloween again.
He does Halloween again.
Which ended up
there's a baby.
Which ended up being every Halloween movie after that.
Yeah.
The plot line was going to be that Tommy has this VR set and the journalist character would go into these virtual worlds and learn the origins of the Myers bloodline by sort of like walking through history in VR.
So Assassin's Creed, the Halloween movie.
It's kind of an Assassin's Creed type Halloween movie. Some elements of that script do carry over. That's where Tommy kind of becomes a major part of it. That's where we get the references to Samhain, the pagan festival. Mustafa Akkad also asked him to try to fit a role for Tanya Harding into the script.
Hell yeah.
You gotta imagine this guy. He's never had a screenplay produced before. His friend left the project. It's just him. And he's talking to these two guys, and one of them's like, there has to be VR, and the other one's like, can we put Tanya Harding?
Oh my god.
He's like, what does this have to do with Halloween?
Where's my movie about the making of Halloween 6?
Honestly, it's fucking crazy. I feel like this book that I got these stories from could make a great movie.
Oh yeah.
And Phil Rosenberg ended up saying about the version of Halloween 6 that did get made, quote, "It felt like those guys thought they were making The English Patient or something."
Oh, I can feel that in the movie, in the like seriousness of it.
It's a very serious Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Mustafa Akkad eventually stonewalled Miramax into bringing on new screenwriters. and they scrapped the Halloween 666 draft, partially because Jason Goes to Hell had a similar storyline.
Yep.
The next writers who were brought on board were Irving Belatesh and Lawrence Guterman. They were two USC film students who wrote a spec script for a Tales from the Crypt episode, and somehow Robert Zemeckis got his hands on it. They were given 10 days to make a script.
Classic.
They had notes from both the directors. They ended up writing something from scratch called Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers.
Which is, for contractual reasons, different from the other Halloween 666.
Yes. With a new script ready, they tried to set it on rails for a release 6 months later in October 1994.
Here we go.
The next director they got was a guy named Matthew Patrick, not Matt Pat. They brought the movie into pre-production without a finalized script. Bob Weinstein wanted to push ahead with the new script, but Mustafa Akkad was not happy with it, and Matthew Patrick, the guy who was directing, was not happy with it. So eventually, the movie was pulled back into development only 2 weeks before it was supposed to start shooting.
Yeah.
They were like getting set up, and they were like, no, we can't do this.
It's not right. The vibes are off. Guys, we got to start over.
So in June of that year, they bring back Daniel Farrens, the 21-year-old from 4 years ago who made the Bible, to make a new draft of it. They circled Fred Walton to direct. He wanted to make something much darker and more explicit. They ended up going with Joe Chappelle, who's mostly a TV director. He ended up working on The Wire and Fringe and this and that. This was Paul Rudd's first role. It was shot before Clueless, even though it ended up coming out later that year. Chappelle, the director, and the producer, Paul Freeman, basically would just rewrite scenes during the shoot. The deadlines were such that they were like, we just have to make what we can here. So we get some chaos from that. At one point, the Weinsteins end up taking over production, reshooting many of the scenes that were rewritten to get what was in the script. And then they had test screenings in early 1995, and you're not going to believe this, but people were pretty negative on it.
Interesting. Wow.
Apparently, in the end of this version, the curse of Michael Myers is passed on to Dr. Loomis.
Oh, hell, I would watch the hell out of that movie. I want Dr. Loomis to start killing people.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, that would be a cool thing to do for the next one if Donald Pleasance did not die around the time these test screenings were going on.
Yeah.
So they entered reshoots. They had to make a new ending, and Donald Pleasance was dead.
Yeah. Well, they really wanted some VR in here. Let's get some virtual reality up in it. Virtual Donald Pleasance.
Exactly. Reshoots took place over the summer. The movie was released in late September, so pretty quick turnaround. Farrens and Chappelle each did their own rewrites, and then a guy named Rand Ravitch, who had previously rewritten Hellraiser Bloodline, was also brought in to do rewrites. During the last night of reshoots, the crew was like, we don't have time to shoot what we were going for here, so they just scrapped everything and made the final shot of this movie on the fly.
Love it. This is the kind of filmmaking that that creates films like this, where it feels like it was made by aliens trying to seem human.
Yeah. The reshoots also had a different actor for Michael Myers, so there's some continuity errors where he sort of seems to be different sizes in different scenes. Yeah, he's the shape. Exactly. He can be anything.
Exactly.
So the sound design, the score, the editing style, they were all changed significantly after the reshoots. They were trying to go for, this movie has a very like flashy, fast, like MTV kind of editing style going on.
Yeah.
And that was all added like at the last minute, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, there was another lawsuit. This was over which version of the film should be shown. the production company's version or Miramax's version. Miramax won the dispute, but that's why there are now 3 versions of the movie in circulation: the theatrical cut, the producer's cut, and the director's cut. I watched the theatrical cut.
I believe I also watched the theatrical cut. I just got the DVD from the library.
Yeah.
And there was nothing on it sort of stating that it was special. So I believe it was just the theatrical cut.
I think so, too. The film's name was changed during the promotional campaign. So when the first teaser came out, it said it was Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers. And then, like, in between that and the movie coming out, they changed it to Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Fun fact, the Halloween series follows the same naming convention as the Pink Panther series, with 4, 5, and 6 being Return, Revenge, and Curse.
Which could mean nothing.
Could mean nothing. I will point out that this movie went on to win Worst Film at the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards.
Solid. I think it's a well-won award. Good for them.
Yeah.
They tried. They worked.
for
They
that.
put in so much effort to make the worst horror movie of the year.
Yeah, they were working on this for like 6 years, and they just you could kind of tell in some way.
You can feel it. It is, like I said, it's one of those movies where I'll watch it and it feels like it was made by aliens who like studied film a little and like tried to figure out like what humans do with film and then said, we're going to make our own movie. It's so nonsensical and surreal and like choppy everywhere in a way that I enjoyed, but does not necessarily make for a good movie.
There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen here.
Yeah.
You have the story with Jamie and her baby. You have the Tommy story. You have the radio host guy who's like he's kind of some kind of shock jock. Yeah. He sort of comes into town and he's in his underwear and he's like, "Where's Michael Myers?"
Yeah, it felt very like they just needed someone that could do voiceover, and so they said, "We'll just put a radio character in it." And like that was really successful in Texas Chainsaw 2, so they were like, "We'll throw a radio person into it." And there's the Stroud family currently living in the old Michael Myers house, including the dad who is surprisingly an asshole, like shockingly horrible person. And the mom that's like a wallflower, like it sort of follows that trajectory. But then both the kids are of like indeterminate age. It seems like the son is a high schooler, but he's definitely maybe not. But then the like half sister main character, who knows, who ends up running off with Tommy and the baby, is like in college, but she also has a kid. It's which I forgot about. There's things I'm forgetting about that movie, and I watched it maybe like 3 days ago.
It's tough to keep track of everything for sure. Yeah, it's like, as we said, you know, everything's kind of, people are trying to bring back Halloween, and the kids are, you know, not respecting the sort of the people who died, and they're like, we gotta bring it back, come on, Halloween.
The one girlfriend character has like a very like political, like, we have to like return to the ability to be kids, and like she has like speeches about it, and I'm like, respect, but also, girl, it's just Halloween. And there's people walking around in costume even before the big Halloween revival like party. So it almost seems like Halloween isn't banned. I couldn't figure that out.
Right. It sort of feels, it's as if in the 6 years or in the 6 years since they last did Halloween, everyone kind of forgot what Halloween is.
Yeah. And this whole time there's also Dr. Loomis, who
There's also Dr.
is
Loomis,
being betrayed by his good friend, who it turns out is the Man in Black, which was a confusing plot point for me, having not seen the previous film.
Yeah, Dr. Wynn, this guy who I don't know. I guess he is in the other movies. Like, he's the guy who's in charge of the sanitarium. But like, he just kind of, in the context of watching this movie on its own, like Dr. Wynn kind of shows up out of nowhere, and then seems to only exist to, at the end of the movie, turn out to be the Man in Black.
And it's like this big reveal, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And the Man in Black,
part of it is like you gotta imagine, because like the Man in Black shows up at the end of the last movie, and they're just like, it's clear that for 6 years they were like, we need to figure out what this guy is, and Mustafa Khan did not have an answer prepared for that, and so in the end, it's like he's kind of nothing. He's sort of just like a guy who's part of the story.
Yeah, and he like has this weird power over the main girl's kid, because there's also this like, so the main girl, Kara. I had to look her up to remember that it was Kara. Mm-hmm. But Kara and her son Danny are like, there's this whole thing of like, it seems like they're making Danny to be like the next Michael Myers, and like he's having these visions and he's being told to like kill people, and he's like drawing the sign of the thorn, which is like the thing that cursed Michael's family and why Michael had to kill everybody, and it's like all tied into this like cult about how we're saving humanity by killing off one whole family. And but then it's like he's not related to Michael technically, because this is Laurie's adoptive family. So is he just like supposed to be like the new kid after Michael finishes off his family? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. They kind of like, it seems like the curse of the thorn like just gets passed on after it finishes the mission of killing one family, kind of.
So it just happens to be the family
like,
that adopted Laurie, the sister of the last person with the thorn.
Yeah. It just has to go to someone. And like they put the thorn symbol on the baby. Like they're maybe thinking we'll go for this kid.
But then his whole family would already be dead. I'm trying to find logic in this movie is a uphill Sisyphean task.
One subplot that I just remembered is the thing about Kara's washing machine being broken.
Yeah. There's a lot of washing machine in this movie.
Like there's the washing machine in the basement, and it floods the whole basement, and it's like it becomes an omen of sorts, but it's never really tied into the rest of it.
No, it's like the power goes out, the power comes back on, the mom, her shoes get wet. What else? I feel like maybe there was like one of the babysitters gets killed in like the washing machine area in the first one, but I could be inventing that.
I guess. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in like a decade, but I found myself having some fun with the like sort of Looney Tunes logic of parts of the climax, like the big chase with Michael. There's the part where Kara's like tiptoeing over Michael to reach Danny, and Michael's just like lying on the floor like playing dead, and just like grabs her ankle, and it's like, did you think you killed him?
Two things that I thought of. There's a scene when they're in the Michael Myers house, and it's just like one of the like domestic scenes early on of like the family, and all of their knives are in the drying rack with the sharp end up, like made for someone to fall backwards onto the drying rack and be stabbed by like 17 knives. Never addressed, never comes back to it. It's just they're crazy, and that's how they dry their knives.
Right. So it's almost like this family is just sort of pro.
Yeah, it's
like
it's
they're
a Final Fantasy
kind of
Final Destination type situation.
Final Destination.
There's also, it occurred to me that late October is not the ideal time for trying clothes on the line, especially in Illinois, which this is across all of the Halloween movies. They love the clothesline. But I was just sitting there and I was like, those clothes aren't going to dry very quick in this like drafty October cloudy day. Why are you putting those sheets out on the line?
Another one of the like Looney Tunesy moments, and one that I was like, I can't really take this seriously, is near the end of the movie when she like pops up holding the baby, and it's just a pile of blankets, and she like successfully tricks Michael Myers with the thinking the pile of blankets is a baby trick.
Oh, what a movie. It made me want to rewatch some of my favorite, like, surreal, weird horror movies that are good. Like, I really wanted to put on Blood Beat, which is this crazy movie that was, like, made by a French guy in, like, northern Wisconsin or whatever. And it's just the strangest thing you'll ever see. And this movie just made me want to watch, like, good surreal cinema.
Yeah, it made me want to watch, like, more 90s shit. Like, the weird, like, non-diegetic sound effects and the, like...
Yeah.
And the, like, whip pans and quick edits and shaky handheld shit. Like, it made me want to watch some, you know, some Fight Club era, like MTV movies.
There is, Paul Rudd, is it just me, or does he start speaking with, like, a weird accent in the very beginning of the movie?
Yeah, it's strange. I did watch his audition for this movie, and I feel like he kind of affected the same sort of voice that he ends up doing in the movie, which is like just it's like not trying to do an accent, but kind of ending up doing an accent by just like being sort of very stilted and articulate and you know, trying to go for like a creepy guy vibe.
Yeah. I loved him in this. It was I found across all these movies this time around that I was just glad Paul Rudd was there. Like every time Paul Rudd was on screen, I was like, hey, there's my friend Paul Rudd.
Yeah, I think in these first two especially, it's like he's still figuring things out and he's kind of trying different shit, and that's really fun to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like fun to get back to just like when you can feel the struggling actor coming through the performance, coming through the film. There's something so fun about that when you're just seeing someone just getting started.
Yeah. It's he's very green and he's really trying.
Yeah.
And you can tell how hard he's trying every time he's on screen.
Yeah. Which is beautiful in movies like this where, because there's something really fun about the like, I'm just here for the paycheck. I don't really give a shit. I'm clearly like kind of drunk on set. Like there's a funness to that, but there's just something so fun about when a bad movie has someone who's really genuinely trying their hardest in it.
Yeah. We might get to more of that later. Yeah. We could jump over to the next film, but I will say that overall this movie has a very weird kind of mean spirit to it, and I guess there were things I admired about it, but it's very much like everything you'd expect a Halloween sequel from the 90s to be.
Yes. It was almost like comforting in its like blandness, in the sense that it was just sort of like, yes, it is the 90s. This is Halloween 6. Yes. Like
this is how you do it.
Yeah. It wasn't surprising in any like good or bad ways. It was just exactly the movie I thought I was going to get.
Not very good.
No, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 2.5 stars with a like, in the sense that I thought it was genuinely creepy and weird in ways that I don't think it intended to. But I had a good time.
And the next movie we're talking about is Gen Y Cops.
Now here's something I loved. I adored this.
So Gen Y Cops, it came out like 4 years after Halloween 6, and I did really enjoy Gen Y Cops. I think I enjoyed it the most out of the movies we looked at. It's at a slightly different point for Paul Rudd, where he is something of a name, and he's done Clueless and people know him, and he's done Romeo and Juliet, and now he's like not quite at the superstar phase that he's basically in from like 2005 on. Yeah. But like building up steam.
Yeah. I've been completely coincidentally to this series, I've hit the part in my Friends rewatch where Paul Rudd is a character on Friends, and it has been fun to sort of get that parallel to this project as we're watching things and just remembering, like, I don't know, back in just like those early days when it was probably a huge deal that he got that Friends gig, but he was also like kind of making his own, like the fact he was even able to get the Friends gig shows where he was like sort of going in his career.
True. What is this movie about?
I would love if you could explain the plot of this movie.
I can try.
Go for it.
So basically, it's a sequel to Gen X Cops. And that was a Hong Kong action movie from the late 90s about a group of 4 young kind of rogue cops who are hackers and, you know, use their hacking skills to help fight crime, sort of, or use their crime fighting skills to, you know, they have to bridge those two worlds, kind of. The sequel, Gen Y Cops, does not have all 4 characters returning. I think it only has 2 of them returning, Match and Alien. And then they bring in a new one, Edison. But basically, there's this American company that has produced a robot for I assume, military purposes. And the robot ends up kind of going rogue in a way. It ends up, you know, there's a demonstration. It ends up blowing up the room, kind of. And then basically Match an Alien and their friend Edison, who is also an expert hacker, I believe not a cop, but they end up having to work together. They are basically trying to defeat this robot and this company that's trying to, you know, bring this robot over to Hong Kong. And they, you know, hijinks ensue.
Yeah. The kid who designed and made the cop, Kurt, is living in Hong Kong, and he sort of uses this big military robot expo as an excuse to try and steal back his robot because he doesn't think the Americans care enough. And now he's going to sell the robot to the highest bidder, which is, of course, a bunch of like vaguely Middle Eastern men that just sort of show up at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I didn't follow this movie all the way through. I tried. I kind of lost touch with it at points, and then sort of came back in, and I was like, "What was this?" But even when I wasn't fully following, I was having fun.
Yes, it has the kinetic qualities of a good Hong Kong action movie with like this really, really fun Y2K, like late 90s, early 2000s thing going for it. It kind of reminded me of Double Team, which is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie directed by Choi Hawk, one of my favorite Hong Kong action directors. And it's famously the one that also has the basketball player with the colorful hair that I'm forgetting the name of.
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. It's the one where it's Jean-Claude and Dennis Rodman. And it's a similar sort of like super fast-paced, super strange, really colorful, not afraid to be really, really fun and funny within an otherwise like tense action movie. Like one of the things I love about Hong Kong action is that it's sort of a genre all of its own that blends comedy and action and sort of its own flavor of whatever is going on into it.
Yeah, I mean, returning to the question of VFX, I think the robot looks really cool.
The robot looks dope. As soon as because in the opening with sort of like the testing sequence where there's this great line where the one American general is like, after they see the robot and he turns to the like scientist in charge and he goes, "Oh, I'm glad to know where all that money's been going." And like the robot, when he first shows up, I was like, damn, that's a great robot. These screen effects look great. And even like I'm intrigued because I watched it on the DVD I could get from the library. So it was in 4:3 format. And it was like kind of distracting because it like there were scenes where Paul Rudd would be talking and he's fully like not even on screen because he's been cut off because it's not in widescreen. And also the dub was kind of horrible. The dub was like one of the enjoyable things about the movie because it was so bad. But it gave the whole thing like a very like VHS quality, even though I was watching a DVD, which added to the whole like aesthetic of it and the fun of it. And I think it made the effects look even better because it's that thing where if it's a lower quality, it's the way that the effects were meant to be seen. They weren't meant to be seen in like 4K or anything. Right. But I'm intrigued how you watched it and if you sort of came across similar formatting snafus, I guess.
Yeah, I watched this on Tubi.
Love it.
And to my recollection, I don't recall it being 4:3. I don't recall the format being messed up. I feel like I could see everything that was happening. I did also have the dub. Yeah. I think the version that was officially released in America has the dub, so that's what you get.
Yeah.
And it's a very fun dub. It's
a hoot. At some point, Paul Rudd isn't doing the dub for himself. Like in the back half of the movie, it just turns into a random other man. And it's really noticeable because it was Paul Rudd for good chunks of the movie.
Yeah, it's like all the dialogue that isn't in English is dubbed.
Yeah.
Some of the dialogue that is in English is dubbed. Yes. But and from what I could tell, it seemed like Paul Rudd's character, the parts where he was speaking in Cantonese were dubbed.
Yeah. I feel like everything was dubbed. Like to me, it felt like the entire film had been dubbed over, irregardless of the language being spoken, which is not
most of it.
Not uncommon. It's an annoying fact of like I still eagerly await the day that Black Mask gets a new re-release in the U.S. with the original Cantonese dialogue because you cannot get it in the U.S. and it kills me.
It just it made me distracted when Paul Rudd's voice came out of Paul Rudd's mouth because I was like. I was so used to everything being dubbed, and I thought the dub was so funny. And then I was like, wait, what about Paul Rudd? And then Paul Rudd comes in and he's just talking. And it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah. By the end, it was definitely another guy. Because, like...
Definitely.
I feel like I blinked, and suddenly I was like, wait, that's not Paul Rudd's voice anymore.
Yeah.
And Paul Rudd is, of course, playing an FBI agent alongside Maggie Q and some other people. As a sort of like Americans who are over to protect the robot while it's at this big expo in Hong Kong. And it's a fun role for him. He gets to do like cool stunts. And he's got this bleached out long hair and he gets to shoot a gun and be like the like bad boy cop dude. And it is such a fun role for him. And like Maggie Q is doing her thing. Yeah. She's amazing. Every time she does it, it's amazing. Fantastic. But like having her sort of partnered with Paul Rudd in a similar kind of role was bizarre and delightful. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree that Rudd is very well used and kind of very well used for where he was at that time. Because if you have bleach blonde Paul Rudd in like 2010 or whatever, or today, or it just wouldn't really work. And this is the perfect moment for Paul Rudd to play the bad guy in a Hong Kong action movie.
Yeah, and it's the fun kind of like they have to band together by the end against the evil computer genius named Kurt.
Kurt.
Yeah, I loved this movie. I loved the sets. Especially when they were like the big empty ones where they were clearly had a warehouse they were going to do fights in, but they had to like make it a scene first. So they just sort of like put stuff in it.
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved the like weird Chinese politics happening where because there's the one at the Robotics Expo, we meet these other guys who work for the Chinese government and have designed a robot that like doesn't work well. And there's this whole like running gag about like how they only do things when it's aligns with the party. Like they have to wait to get a call from their boss to tell them that like they can join the fight or they can help, or like there's like this weird thing going on where I was like, I would love to know more about what politically is happening here and what's being said, because there's like kind of they're treated as these really goofy characters, but they also are like the characters supposed to represent sort of the Chinese government, which feels very telling in a movie set place in Hong Kong, especially by 2000.
Well, yes. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely like a more sort of politically involved movie than what... Like, there are all these little things with people thinking that Match and Alien are gay, and them kind of like, you know, having a sort of homoerotic friendship. There's the line where they're trying to get to Edison, and his posse is like, "Are these two faggots with you?" There's a whole lot of that. There's this scene where they have the Jamaican weed guy, and it's dubbed with someone who is clearly a white guy doing a Jamaican accent.
It's one of those movies where everything is so densely packed in, which is part of why I love Hong Kong action generally, because that's just sort of how it is. But when you're adding in like this is the American distribution of the movie on top of all the other things already happening, you just get for a relic of a very specific time.
I mean, if we want to talk about a very specific time, there's the great Paul Rudd line near the end where he says, "Roseanne Barr Arnold will be president of the United States before you two bugs see the light of day."
The dialogue in this was good. Like, there were so many snappy one-liners.
There's some funny lines. I like the line where they're introducing the thing, and he's like, "The problem was the code was written by a French Canadian."
Yep.
There's the company called Micro Hard.
And even like in naming their characters Match and Alien, it feels like it's almost making fun of the goofiness of Hong Kong action. Like, I recently got to go see Hard Boiled on the big screen, which famously has a character named Tequila, which comes across is interesting in how it comes across when you're sitting there in an American theater watching it, and every time a character says Tequila, you're just sort of like, huh, that's a fun nickname. But like, it even feels like it's sort of commenting on its own genre in a way, which is in the way that only like a good sort of mid-range action movie can. Yeah,
there's a similar thing in another recent movie I liked called Ceiling, where there's a bunch of characters who are just named like Amtrak or something, and like they're not even in the mob; they're just like random, like people. But I think part of the interesting thing about the like sort of homoerotic thing they have going on is that in the first movie, like I said, there's 4 people, and the 2 of them are like the playboy and the funny guy. So the very nature of pairing those 2 up, and I have from the Wikipedia page for Gen X Cops the descriptions of the characters. Jack, the main protagonist of the movie, Jack is the tough, cool one of the group. He will do almost anything to win. Match is the playboy of the group, as he's always more concerned with the girls instead of the task at hand. Alien, as his name suggests, Alien is the goofy guy of the bunch.
It comes across.
He does not really like authority or doing much work, but does his fair share in the group. Y2K is the girl of the group. She has skills in fighting and computers.
Fighting and computer. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. The girl do fighting and computer. Often the case. One thing about this movie is that it was not originally released as Gen Y Cops in the US, because Gen X Cops was kind of a thing in the US, but not really. So when this movie originally got its US release, it premiered on Sci-Fi in 2002 under the name Jackie Chan Presents Metal Mayhem.
That is also that sounds sick.
It does.
Like, I would line the fuck up to watch Jackie Chan Presents Metal Mayhem.
And Jackie Chan is kind of involved in this movie in that it was co-produced by Media Asia Films, which he is like a shareholder in. Him and Michelle Yeoh are both shareholders in it. So they kind of they stretched the amount of Jackie Chan that was involved in it for sure. But, you know, in 2002, people will watch it if it's Jackie Chan Presents.
Yeah. It's similar to sort of Miramax's huge... Like, so many of the, especially Chinese action movies that we get in the U.S. for a long time were just released through Miramax, and every single one of them had Quentin Tarantino Presents on them, because he was, like, the guy who was, like, choosing and like working at Miramax to technically like get them to the States, which pisses me the fuck off because it means that I can't find these movies without Quentin Tarantino's name on it, even though he had zero to do with them. And even like
really funny,
just picking up the case, I was like, oh yeah, this is one of those Quentin Tarantino presents Hero by Choi Hawk. Like, this is not a Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah,
but I respect it more when it's like they're putting Jackie Chan's name on it and he's somehow kind of related to the film.
Jackie Chan was quoted when the film was announced saying, "Our aim is to make a sequel that is both different from and better than Gen X Cops."
That's the only thing anyone ever needs to say about a sequel ever again. That's such a like hockey answer to be like, how'd the game go?
It's gonna be.
It was good. We're gonna put in more effort.
Yeah. We're gonna put in more effort.
It's gonna be better, but it will be different.
Yeah, it's gonna be better and different. This movie was also co-produced by a company called Regent Entertainment. They specialized at that time in low-budget knockoff movies. They had a Twister knockoff called Storm Chasers. They had a Titanic knockoff called Britannic. They were like Asylum. They made these things mostly for like foreign audiences, and that was how they made their money. And then they kind of picked up some steam because they ended up producing the movie Gods and Monsters, which won an Oscar, was a very successful
Gods
film.
and Monsters is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Gods and Monsters is a movie I could talk about quite a lot because I love it.
Yeah. They kind of became known for producing gay films after Gods and Monsters.
I love that. This is such a fun twist that I was not seeing coming in our discussion of Gen Y cops, but now we've cycled all back around to Clive Barker and gay films. I love it.
Yeah, it could always come back around. So basically, after Gods and Monsters, they had a little more capital and they were looking to make new investments. They basically saw that America was getting more and more interested in Asian films, and so they were like, we're packaging these cheap American movies for East Asia. We can also kind of do that in reverse. Yeah.
For that, I am grateful.
And I think it really does pay off. Having not seen Gen X Cops, I do think this movie is apparently different. It obviously does not have all of the characters. It has a very goofy tone, which I know is not uncommon in this genre, but it's so cartoony. It has almost an Austin Powers vibe to it.
Oh yeah. I love how in even the most serious or even when you're watching like one of the greatest like Hong Kong action movies ever, it's always funny too. Like, and part of that is Jackie Chan's influence and his ability to thread the humor and the romance and the action all together. Like, I always think about Police Story and the scene where he's trying to like take notes on like, he's like getting a phone call and he's trying to like take down a note from the phone call, but he's having like 5 phone calls at once. And he has this whole one-man stunt sequence where he's like on 5 different phones at once. And it's hilarious, but it's also like you're blown away by the talent at the same time. And I think that's just like one of the things about Hong Kong action that always speaks to me is like, even when there's like a goofy robot being blown up and then there's like a character who's like straight up clowning, 2 seconds later there'll be a dude like jumping off a building in a way that I'm like, whoa, it threads the needle. Yeah.
I would say there is not a ton of martial arts in this movie. There are sort of like, extended sequences where it's more, where they're sneaking into the facility or they're there's like car chases and things like that. But the action is more concentrated than I was expecting, even though it does keep moving.
There's lots of kick fighting. There's one bit where Paul Rudd's stunt double like jumps off of one crate at the shipyard or whatever onto another one. And it was like a big jump. There were some like little things that just feel so good to me. I love it.
Yeah, I love the boat chase.
Always good. Can never go wrong with a boat chase. You can never go wrong with a robot.
Paul Rudd gets to jump off the boat and chase those 2 guys in the water.
I would love to find an interview of Paul Rudd talking about the making of this movie. I was thinking about that a lot, of like, what does Paul Rudd have to say about, what was it like for Paul Rudd to be on this set and to make this movie?
I saw an interview from many years later where it got brought up, and he said that he hadn't seen the finished movie.
Oh, come on, Paul Rudd.
They showed him a clip from it, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember that. It was the clip where like the robot shoots at the car and it blows up, and Paul Rudd has to like jump out of it." He did talk about bleaching his hair a little bit, and he said that his wife liked to tease him about it. But yeah, it seems like he was. It's a very odd thing. It's something that feels like someone who is at that stage in their career. Like it makes sense in the Paul Rudd arc, but it's also it's not like this happens.
Yeah. Like I've watched through a number of actors' filmographies, and this is the random Hong Kong sequel is not a trope that comes up a lot in like actors' filmographies.
Yeah, it makes sense, and yet it makes no sense.
Yeah, it's random in a beautiful way.
Yeah. This movie also has a very late 90s, early 2000s opening credit sequence.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I popped this disc in and I start getting those like tubes and the like CGI, and it's giving a little bit of like Sam Raimi Spider-Man, I was like, oh hell, I'm gonna love this movie. And then we see that same like effects later when Edison, because he gets hypnotized to turn against his fellow friends.
Right.
And it's only through going into his brain with a computer somehow do they find out like, what was happening with the hypnosis. And during the hypnosis, there's a lobster man that happens in this movie. And like his brain is like all these like tubes and like random numbers. And yeah, because what they're trying to do is get the activation code for the robot so that they can track it down to stop it.
Right.
And the whole thing's happening in like this room that's just sort of like random computer terminals. Love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Love it. That was some real Jimmy Neutron shit.
Yeah.
There's sort of a running gag in this movie that they spend a lot of it in this like high-tech government facility, and all the equipment just like doesn't work.
Yeah.
A lot of bits of like Paul Rudd trying to turn something on, and he's like, this doesn't work.
I love in the beginning when they turn off the robot after it gets hacked by just shooting at the wires on the wall. And of course, like the first person misses it, but then Maggie Q and Paul Rudd, they've got that good shot. And they can do it. They can turn off the robot with their guns.
Yeah, they've got main character syndrome. Yeah.
Yep.
That's sort of where I'm at with Gen Y Cops. I had a lot of fun.
Speaking of main character syndrome, our next movie is Ant-Man and the Wasp, I believe.
It is. It's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. A legendary dud.
Yes.
Like in terms of it's another one of those movies where when you hear we're talking about Paul Rudd's bombs, you're like, oh, like Quantumania.
Yeah.
Oh, like Death of a Unicorn. Oh, like Wet Hot in the you know, that like it's one of the first ones people think of. Because this is, in many ways, the movie that sunk the MCU.
Love it. Thank you, Ant-Man. Thank you, Paul Rudd.
Thank you, Ant-Man.
Everyone involved.
To put it into perspective, this was a movie that was such a notorious bomb that it like, you know, caused people to kind of talk about like, is Marvel done for like a year?
Yeah.
And to put it like this year, Marvel had these successful new entries with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, where people are like, okay, this is a return to form. Mm-hmm. They got decent reviews and they made decent money. Both of those movies made substantially less money than Quantumania.
That's an interesting fact. I hadn't realized that.
I shouldn't say substantially. I think Fantastic Four made about the same. But
but they just made on such lower budgets that the profit is actually there.
Yeah, the profit is there because The budget on Quantumania is crazy work. This is the 11th most expensive movie ever made.
What's the other 10 on that list? That right there is an interesting pulp fantasy season.
Yeah, it would be an interesting season. It's the only one that high on the list to have been a bomb.
Yeah. Because the rest of that list has got to be like Avatar, Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Like like Griffith's movies from back in the day.
The top 10 is Jurassic World Dominion, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Fast X, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Endgame, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and Avatar The Way of Water.
Damn. I really thought changed for inflation, even some of those old ones would be up there. But
well, I'm looking at the inflation list, and there is some movement. The top 10-ish is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But Titanic gets in there. Spider-Man 3 gets in there.
Yeah.
Tangled.
Interesting.
John Carter.
Yes.
John Carter is still up there.
There's a movie.
Waterworld. And Avatar is number 22.
Listen,
pinching pennies over there.
James Cameron knows what he's doing.
He does. He does not miss.
No, James Cameron,
and
incapable of missing.
Yes, and Fire and Ash is coming out later this year.
I'm so excited. Anyway,
so yeah,
I was not excited to watch this movie. I was dreading it because I have not engaged with the MCU. Well, this is something that I thought would be interesting to sort of bring up in this discussion, because I feel like I have like a whole like trajectory and like life that I associate with the MCU, because those first few movies were coming out when I was in like late elementary school. Like the phase 1 was very much, I was in like 5th or 6th grade, maybe 7th grade. And I got really into it. I remember seeing Avengers in theaters like 3 times, and then I'd watch it endlessly at home. I loved it. I was reading all the fanfic. I was so obsessed. And then everything since then has just been this downward slide into hatred and like bitterness that I've spent so many hours of my life. Like, because for a while there, I never missed a single one in theaters. I saw everything in theaters. It was like MCU time, gotta go. I ran through like a rainstorm to get to Infinity War. Like, I was a devotee. I was there. And then I just got tired of it. I got so fed up with it and so angry at the way that they just kept pulling me into more movies that were dog shit by like promising these like emotional beats and character moments that we never really got.
Yeah.
Like, I always love to talk about the MCU as found family bait, where they were like, we're going to have this like relation. It's going to be so fun. And when you're reading as much fan fiction as I was, where like the kids get it and are like writing about everyone having their own floor in Avengers Tower or whatever. And then you watch the movies and the characters like barely interact with each other. And when they do, they don't seem to care about each other. It's so performative and like flat that it just soured me on the whole thing. So the last MCU movie I saw was the Spider-Man that had Tobey Maguire in it and Andrew Garfield. Mostly because Daredevil made an appearance, and that was what was most important to me about that movie. But it was really fun to see the 3 Spider-Men at once. See Willem Dafoe doing his thing. Like, that's a fun movie in its own gimmicky, exploitive way. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like everyone is somewhere on that timeline with Marvel. Like, I definitely went through a similar journey. I think the first one I saw was Avengers, because that was just like the thing that was on everyone's minds, and it was like the thing that I was going to go out for. From Avengers through, I mean, I kept seeing these after I stopped liking them, so I think the first one that I completely missed in theaters was Black Panther 2, actually, which felt pivotal in that I love Black Panther. Everyone loves Black Panther. Black Panther 2 comes out. The reviews are positive, but I just sort of look around and I'm like, nobody has said a word about this movie.
Yeah. There's like a really
Like,
No, I'm sorry.
people couldn't bring themselves to admit that they didn't really like Black Panther 2.
Yeah. There's something. So the thing about Black Panther for me is that it's a really great movie made by really cool people making like really cool creative choices within a franchise that hadn't seen anything like exciting happen to it in ages at that point. Did it need to get nominated for Best Picture? I don't know. I think
Probably not.
The critical response to Black Panther, to me, has always felt like Hollywood trying to apologize. You know, it seems like it's Hollywood, to me anyway, it has seemed like Hollywood being like, we're sorry we're so white. We're sorry that the Oscars have snubbed you. We're sorry about all this. We'll give it to the huge commercial, like the movie that is made by like Disney. We're gonna give Disney the nod instead of any of these other movies that have been made, you know?
And then we're gonna give Best Picture to Green Book.
Like such a weird performative. To me, it always just felt weird. I never liked that Black Panther was like given all of this love when nothing else ever was.
Yeah, I think if you look at it from a bird's eye view and you say, what of this entire Marvel era reaches that level, and like if you're going to nominate a Marvel movie or a Marvel era superhero movie for Best Picture, what's it going to be? It's going to be Black Panther.
This is true.
There was a book that I have read for this podcast before, about sort of the rise and fall of the MCU and some of the internal machinations. I did get a little bit of a history lesson about this movie. It's a pretty fun history too. We could once again, real quick, just start by saying what this movie is about.
This movie is about a dad and his daughter, and a different dad and his daughter, and Kang, Destroyer of Worlds. And it's sort of, we open with Scott Lang, Ant-Man, of course, sort of ruminating on his life. And through various sort of events, we figure out that his daughter, who is of course not blinked and is now much older than in the previous Ant-Man movies, has like developed
and is a different actress.
This is also true. That she has like found out a way to like study the quantum realm. But then, oh my God, what is her name? The matriarch of this family.
Oh, Janet.
Janet, thank you. Janet Van Dyne is like, shut that the fuck down. But they don't shut it down soon enough, and they all get sucked into the quantum realm. And then this whole family goes on a wild journey that involves lots of cool aliens and lots of green screen, and Bill Murray is there at one point, and we sort of find out that Janet has this backstory where she kind of helped Kang the Destroyer sort of rebuild his ship at one point, but then she realized it was too powerful and tried to destroy it, but now he needs Pym particles to fix his ship again, and they sort of end up helping him, but then they need to stop him. Sort of a roundabout way to just get at, there's a big bad and this family has to fight him, and they use all their new friends they've made in the quantum realm along the way. And it's, in theory, setting up the next phase of the MCU, because it's going into multiverses, and it's going into the abilities that... It's going into a Marvel universe that's much bigger than what the MCU has been at that point, and also establishing Kang as sort of a villain who could become the next big bad in the post-Infinity War era. But all of that really got thrown out the window for a whole ton of reasons. It was sort of strange to see Jonathan Majors and be reminded of how much I really like him on screen. Because, you know, there's a career that really got shelved.
Could have been. Yep. Could have been. I do think it's really funny that the ending of this movie, which is a funny beat to end on, but the way that it ends with Scott in denial being like, well, we'll never have to deal with Kang again, and then it turns out he was right. It's really funny. Yeah.
There's a lot of just it was so fun in a like kind of nostalgic way to dive back into an MCU movie and just be reminded of like how much I don't like them.
Yeah.
But I will say that I saw Ant-Man in theaters, the first one. I loved it. I've seen it since then. It remains one of my favorite of the like post phase 1 Marvel movies. I really like that first Ant-Man. And I enjoyed sort of getting back to that guy and seeing Paul Rudd on screen. I wish Paul Rudd was on screen more. This is a movie titled Ant-Man that has very little Ant-Man in it, it feels like.
It's true. It has a lot of the Ant family kind of having their own things going on. I think I went into this, and I've seen this once before, but I went into rewatching it being like, okay, this is going to be a classic half star, like I'm going to watch this and hate it and have a fun time. And then I felt like I found myself respecting it more than I have in the past, because what it's trying to do is so beyond what it has the capacity to do. It's like, it's an experiment on Peyton Reed's part to be like, I want to do my Avatar, and I'm going to try to make it within the confines of the Marvel Cinematic Universe pipeline. And it so doesn't work, and yet, relative to the kind of safety of these recent Marvel releases that have been getting like the lukewarm praise, it's like they're really trying to do something with this.
There's like the giant ants who create their own techno universe, like society, and like like the ant socialism is a main plot point in this movie, and that's bizarre. And it's full of these actors that are really, really good at what they do. Every time it cut back to Michael Douglas, I was like, smile on my face. There's that guy who could be doing anything with his life, and here he is, messing around in some CGI goo spaceship for no reason. Like, it's a movie that takes weird, big swings and has some like
there are
just like random character stuff in it.
And there are a lot of cool like alien designs, a lot of stuff that feels like the cantina from Star Wars, like there are it has sort of the fun of like a cheesy 80s sci-fi movie in a way, except that it's I guess those were formulaic too, but this is like
they weren't 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Like a great,
for one thing.
A great 80s formulaic sort of like action sci-fi is going to be like 96 at most, probably closer to like 80 minutes long. And that's part of why they go down so smooth.
Yeah, Halloween 6 was a smooth 88, by the way.
Such a nice length of movie. It was the perfect length for that movie to be.
Absolutely. And it had a nice pace too.
Yeah, like it kept going. I was engaged. And then it was over. And I went, great, now I have my evening to do more things.
Exactly. So the story of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania begins around when Ant-Man and the Wasp was coming out. And Peyton Reed's obviously talking about like, oh, there's going to be a third one. We left a lot of doors open. We're going to explore the quantum realm more, because that's like something that was like set up in the first movie, kind of tapped into more in the second one. And it's like clearly all setting up to have like a big Ant-Man quantum adventure.
Yeah. It also was integral to the like Endgame Infinity War plot, because like the fact that Scott was stuck in the quantum realm is like sort of the linchpin that sort of gets everything moving in those it's Infinity War that's the second one, right?
Infinity War is Endgame is the second one.
Thank you. Like Endgame puts a lot of its weight on Ant-Man, and Ant-Man being stuck in the quantum realm, and that sort of being the thing that will reignite the plot 3 or whatever years later.
It's an interesting sort of unexplored thing that of the people who led Marvel movies before 2016, Paul Rudd's the only one that's still like a major player.
Yeah. Yeah. And he continues to be the one that they use to do these like really important foundational plot things. It's like, okay, we need multiverses. We'll get Ant-Man to do it. We need someone to be able to like come back in and be outside of the blip or whatever. We'll get Ant-Man to do it.
Yeah. He's kind of sneakily like keeping the lights on over there. Yeah. Like if they lost Rudd, they would be fucked.
Yeah, and it feels like that even just whenever Paul Rudd's on screen, I'm having a good time. Like Paul Rudd as Scott Lang is such a fun cast and such a just it works. He can pull off the sort of goofy like unseriousness that often bothers me a lot about Marvel movies, that like they can't take anything seriously. But with Paul Rudd, it's like, oh, this is a comedy. Paul Rudd is in it. It makes sense. This is all working. I get it. It just flows better as a film.
Yeah, Paul Rudd can be the comic relief and also like play serious when he needs to.
Yeah,
you know, he's sort of the inverse of a lot of the other Marvel guys, and that makes him an important addition. Yeah. So the movie gets announced in 2019. They're doing a third one. Peyton Reed's returning. Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas. COVID happens. In the early days of lockdown, they make a deal with Rick and Morty writer Jeff Loveness to write the script for the film. At this time, the movie had not been announced, but like everything that Marvel was going to put out was in limbo because of COVID. It's worth noting that Paul Rudd himself has an additional writing credit on this movie. which you know we can get into, but I imagine there were probably we'll get into
yeah.
So another thing about COVID is that Evangeline Lilly refused to quarantine.
Yes.
And later became kind of an anti-vaxxer. So there started to be rumors that maybe her role was going to be reduced. And then in August, Peyton Reed put out like a very diplomatic letter being like, Rudd and Lilly are still going to be equal build. Evangeline Lilly is going to be a big part of the movie. Which you can feel the like lawyers looking over his shoulder in that one. Peyton Reed compared the visual language of the film to microscope photography, heavy metal magazine covers, sci-fi pulp novels. You can definitely see him trying to go for that a lot in this movie. A lot of bright colors, a lot of big landscapes and things like that. In September, it was announced that Jonathan Majors would play a major role, and it was rumored that was going to be Kang. Jonathan Majors was approached and hired without an audition.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they just picked him up off of Last Black Man in San Francisco, and they were like, gotta get this guy.
They saw that star rising. Little did they know.
Little did they know. In December at Disney's Investor Day, the film was formally announced as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And this was a notorious Investor Day. This was the day that they announced they announced like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. They announced Alien Earth. They announced Willow and Star Wars Rogue Squadron and Turner and Hooch with Josh Peck. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. Like this was kind of them showing their hand of like we're in streaming now. We have these Fox properties. We're gonna start really building this shit. And it was also the day that they announced Lightyear. Which leads to the famous Chris Evans tweet. Just to be clear, this isn't Buzz Lightyear the toy. This is the origin story of the human Buzz Lightyear that the toy is based on.
Oh.
One of my favorite tweets ever. Because it's like, that does not make this any clearer. You can only be more confused hearing that.
Oh man. Every time those Disney days rolls around and I have to deal with people talking about, did you hear whatever? I feel like I age like a year every time Disney does that. Especially because at this point they've dropped so many of the things they've announced. Like, we're never going to get Blade. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. So at this point, half the shit they announced, I'm like, that'll never get made.
Yeah, there's stuff they announced during this investor day that obviously all Star Wars movies are we're never getting another.
Thank you, J.J. Abrams. Thank you for everyone involved.
They announced the Three Men and a Baby reboot with Zac Efron. They announced a Swiss Family Robinson show. They announced some like Disney movies and Pixar shows that never ended up getting made. It always happens, and I think I'm always sort of yearning for the chaos of this Disney announcement day, because just this was the moment where I was like, we're going all in on streaming. We're doing 6 new Pixar streaming TV shows and new movies. So it was like their ambitions were so high.
Where's my movie, like, because they made that movie Steve Jobs. It's like all set in the day that he announces the iPhone or whatever. Where's my movie that's just set during one of the like D3 summits or whatever, where it just follows like the one intern who has to try and keep like John Lasseter like caged, you know?
Yeah, and then like the big like everything goes to shit moment is Chris Evans drafting that tweet.
Did you see the tweet? Like, get the guy who did In the Loop and like that British guy, or like get the people who do Succession to make that movie about the bullshit that I guess they kind of almost did it in Succession. I love when they sort of dive into the little Hollywood stuff, like with the Big Turkey movie.
Yeah. It's crazy. Later that month, Jeff Loveness announces that he has turned in the first draft of the script, that he made it like a real father-daughter movie. It was inspired by father-daughter movies like Hook and Father of the Bride and Jumanji. 3 movies that are watched by some.
3 movies that are definitely movies that were made.
Yeah. It was announced. The person who announced that this movie had begun filming was Turkey's Minister of Culture and Tourism.
Yep.
February 2021, they announced that they'd start filming in Turkey. Filming also took place in England, San Francisco, and Atlanta. And boy, can you tell. Oh, yeah. all those great England, San Francisco, Atlanta landscapes, they're all there. The film utilized the volume, the sort of, for those of you in the audience who might not know, it's this sort of like wraparound LED screen that's used for things like The Mandalorian. It's something that people have found works better than fully CG backgrounds.
Yeah.
Bill Murray got involved. He said that he wasn't interested in superhero movies, but he loved Bring It On, which Peyton Reed directed, and so he wanted to work with it.
Oh, I love that. He was a delightful surprise. I did not know at all that he was in this movie. And then he showed up, and I was like, hot damn, there he is.
I would say there's an interesting contrast to be noted in how people react to Jonathan Majors being in this movie versus reacting to Bill Murray being in the movie. It's sort of how it goes in society. Michael Douglas too, but
yeah. I feel like everything with Jonathan Majors is, I don't know, been so recently blown up that it's fresh in people's minds, and it was fresh after this movie that everything came out.
It was fresh after this movie. It is very intimately tied to this movie, and you know, it went to court and had a big fallout for Majors that the other allegations haven't. Bill Murray initially had more scenes in this movie. He had a few scenes with Katie O'Brien. They were cut sort of because they were like rewriting the script while they were filming. So they didn't end up getting done. They had Bill Murray's character just apparently die. Sort of not get much of an ending. At this time, Jeff Loveness was also going to direct Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Allegedly, it was not initially the plan to make Kang the main villain of this arc. They had cast Majors, and then when they saw Majors' performance in Loki and in the dailies from Quantumania, that's when they decided they were going to build this whole chapter around Kang, which again speaks to this movie still being written as it was filmed. Let's see. Peyton Reed said this about the movie. He said, people felt like, oh, these are fun little palate cleansers after a gigantic Avengers movie. For this third one, I said, I don't want to be the palate cleanser anymore. I want to be the big Avengers movie.
You can feel it. That just makes me tired.
He tried really hard. He tried really hard. And he had a lot of hustle out there. VFX artists were, they say the project was severely understaffed and working with an unrealistic deadline. This movie was initially slated for February, then they moved it to July, and then like the fall before it came out, they moved it back to February.
Yep. That's always a good sign.
Yeah, I have some direct quotes from
please.
VFX artists who work on it. In terms of priority, Wakanda Forever was definitely at the top of the list. All the money went to that. All the best resources went to that. For Ant-Man, there were a lot of editorial changes happening towards the latter third and fourth of the project that were just too late. If it's noticeable that there were shortcuts, certain things were used to cover up incomplete work. Certain editorial cuts were made to not show as much action or effects as there could have been, likely because there just wasn't enough time to render everything. Marvel is doubling down as much as possible on constricting quality. They're squeezing blood out of stones.
Yeah,
One of my coworkers became unhappy because of the lack of work he was given on that movie. He spent days on standby only to end up doing nothing, and that went on for months. And finally, a quick shot that maybe takes 2 seconds would have to be redone 20 times to get the look that they want. There was a lot of reworking and a lot of inefficiency.
This was, I feel like, around the time that I started really seeing... Because this was around the time that I was still on Instagram, and one of my favorite things to do on Instagram was to share how much I hated the MCU. And there were, around this era, just finally some good... like sound bites and people coming out and saying how much the conditions sucked and how much CGI was being overused and how even in using CGI they weren't giving it the time it needed. Like the amount of shortcuts that Disney and Marvel wanted to take on these movies especially was really coming to the forefront, and you can feel it.
Yeah, and I mean, this was definitely the moment where Disney started to feel that heat. I think because they had already been experiencing some diminishing returns. They'd already been like having trouble coming back from that pandemic drop. And you know, I mean after this movie they fired one of their main executives. Like you could see things just falling apart all around this movie, and I think that's a big part of why it made a bigger impression that this flopped rather than, you know, Eternals or Love and Thunder or Black Widow or whatever. The wheels were coming off the wagon.
It was also like an established character, and it's like a white dude movie. And, you know, things like Eternals, I feel like people like to be like, oh, well, no one wants a movie like that. No one wants a weird Marvel movie that's whatever. And this was a movie where it was like, oh, even the like classic dumb fallbacks of like it being this character that people love and movies that have already done well, like didn't. The fact that it flopped resonated with the people who were being idiots about why the other ones were flopping.
Yeah, it showed that even an entry in a successful franchise was not a guaranteed moneymaker. And I think things like that and the Marvels and Joker Folie do have been what started to bring us out of the era of anything that makes a lot of money needs a sequel.
Yeah. Thank God.
I will say one more background thing about this movie. The movie did eventually turn a profit after home video sales. It made Disney a cool $88,000.
Put that in your back pocket.
Little walking around money. To put that into perspective, Anora made $91,000 per theater on its opening weekend.
Way to go, Sean Baker. Raking it in.
Raking it in. It was such a colossal disaster, Quantumania, that I feel like it became the first like very salient Marvel movie in a while.
Yeah.
It came out at a time where like the Marvel movies that had come out the previous year, like Multiverse of Madness and Black Panther 2, like they had made money, but they weren't really part of the conversation as much as pre-pandemic Marvel had been. And then Ant-Man Quantumania came out, and it was just like people were talking about how much of a disaster it was.
Yeah.
There are a lot of annoying things about this movie.
Yes. Yeah. Even not being as bad as I thought it was going to be, it's not good. You know, where Halloween 6, I give, 2.5 stars and a heart. Like, I enjoyed it. This is a 2 stars, no heart.
Yeah.
Of a movie.
There's a lot of, you can tell that a Rick and Morty guy wrote it.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff, especially with MODOK. I think there's a lot of stuff where it's like, yeah, this is Rick and Morty.
I didn't know
shit.
MODOK was going to be in this movie. I thought they gave him that TV show and that was it. That was a real drag every time he was on screen. It was just, guys, come on. I don't give a shit.
Man. Yeah.
I don't give a shit. And it feels very Marvel to be like, oh, it's all linked back to that original guy. Like, remember, it's a very like, oh, remember that thing and how it's all connected. They love to do that. And it was like, I genuinely don't care. I don't care about that character from that movie ages ago. And now you've just made him extra annoying. I don't care.
There are really a lot of characters in this movie.
And some of it, it's like, I love Katie O'Brien.
You've got
Catherine Newton. Like, there's good people in it, but it's like, what are they doing? What do they get to do in a movie that's so overstuffed?
Yeah, you really feel that with everyone short of like the Ant family and gang, where it's like Katie O'Brien, Bill Murray, William Jackson Harper, Moda, like all these side characters sort of just have to come and go, and I mean, like, there's the movie starts with like of Ant-Man and the Wasp getting split up from Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer and Catherine Newton, Catherine Newton. It's it's Scott and his daughter, and then it's Evangeline Lilly is with the parents, but they get split up.
It's a movie about fathers and daughters, in case you didn't know. It's
a movie about fathers and daughters, and
Quantumania is another character.
Yeah, the quantum realm sort of another character in the film. It's so contrived for them to be split up that way because they went into the same portal at the same time. So you would think either they all went to different places or they all went to the same place. For them to be split into two groups doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's a movie about fathers and daughters. The fathers and daughters have to be paired up.
The fathers and daughters do have to be together, but there's so many little things like that where I'm just like, even in setting up that the quantum realm is a space that doesn't follow physics and anything can happen, and sometimes 5 days is 5 years, and sometimes 30 years is 30 years, and sometimes and it's like, there's no consistent source of light, so different scenes that are at the same time can just have different lighting.
Yeah.
It's very convenient, but like, I didn't totally pick up on the Pym particle thing with Kang's ship. I kept just being like, how did Kang get small?
I think the question is, how did the ship get so big?
how this ship gets so big. Here's the thing. When you're setting up the big bad for the next phase of the MCU, the next like 3 phases of the MCU, the next saga, I don't think it's a good idea to start by saying however strong he is, he's lower in the power scaling than ants.
This is true.
This Kang guy's real trouble, but he's not quite as strong as a bunch of ants.
They're cool ants. They're socialist.
They're cool ants. They have their own society.
Yeah. This is true. There's so much hand waving. Like there's the bit where Catherine Newton is trying to unlock the cell that they've locked Katie O'Brien in, and it just ends up being one of those like you just mush someone against the button and it opens moments.
Yeah.
And it felt like a really small example of the larger problem with the movie. That anytime there was a question, they would just sort of go,
yeah.
Don't think about it. There's
a lot of things where it's like, you can feel that, like, you know, the parents and the WASP are in the first place, and then, you know, the place where they land, and then they're being surveilled by the Kang things, and then we cut back to them and they're in the desert suddenly. Maybe I missed something, but when we get cut to Katie O'Brien in prison, I'm like, when did she get in prison?
Yeah, when did they all get? Well, I guess there was like the raid.
There was the raid, but like,
and the raid
we see Scott and Cassie end up there. We don't really see Katie O'Brien end up there.
This is true. And it sets up this whole like, oh, Scott, you're an Avenger. That means you have to actually help people, but you need your daughter to remind you what it means to help people thing.
Sure.
But that's it. That's it. All what I just said is the same exact thing that the movie said, and they said it in that exact way of just like, this is it.
There's this scene when they're locked up where Scott goes, "I'm an Avenger," and then Kang goes, "Have I killed you before?" And it's like, why would Scott think that Kang knows who the Avengers are?
Yeah, like he's like especially at that point, because they don't know anything about him yet. They are not there for they're not there for when Janet like explains who Kang is and like why he's a big deal. They just extrapolate from context clues, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he tells them, but like after that,
yeah, there's a lot of like, as long as the audience knows, the characters must also be aware of that.
Yeah. And while we're talking about the prisons, why does every prison in the MCU look the same? Why do they all have those big glass walls with like some kind of scanner to open them? They could be on Earth. Yeah. They could be in Asgard. They could be in the quantum realm, and they all were designed by the same guy.
There's one dude who designs prisons in the MCU across all the multiverses. After they did the thing with Loki in the glass thing in the middle of the big room or whatever back in that first Avengers movie, they said that was too complicated. Only one type of prison from now on.
One glass.
One glass. We did the Magneto in the middle of the room back in the X-Men movies. We don't need that. We don't need those cool prisons anymore. We just need we need half of a set that we will reuse every single time. Like, it's almost the B-movie thing of like, we had one hallway we could film in, so we're just going to redecorate it so that you can tell it's a different hallway the next time we have to film in our one hallway.
Yeah. It's like here's my pitch for our prison. just a room with nothing in it.
Just an empty hallway. It'll be the only set you'll have to build because everything else will be green screen. So just build one and it'll be fine.
Yeah, just make a little alcove in the wall, and we'll just shoot
There'll be two across from each other so that the characters can talk. End of needs for this scene.
Yeah. Also, speaking of hand waving, I was just looking at my notes and I remembered at the beginning where I think this is with the Michael Douglas team, but he's like, we should be dead. And then someone's like, why aren't we? And then he says, I don't know. And that's it.
Yep.
There's one of the story beats I really liked in this was that Kang gets Scott to do a heist to go into the part of his computer or whatever, part of his ship, the core, the probability zone or whatever.
Yeah.
But while he's in there, fucking Hank and Janet and Evangeline Lilly are up in their ship looking for them, and Evangeline Lilly just touches her earpiece and goes, "I'm getting Scott." Like they just happen to find him in the quantum realm.
Yeah, in the infinite quantum realm.
They happen to be passing by. The quantum realm does seem kind of small in some ways. It seems like they kind of keep coming back to the same spots.
Yeah. There's only like 5 characters.
Yeah,
and they all find each other and meet each other often.
They keep bumping into each other. That sequence with the probability storm is really cool.
This is something that I put in my notes. Whenever the MCU, for all of its flaws and how much I detest that they rely on CG, when they do dream sequences, they kind of go for it. They go all ham.
It's very
which I love.
true. It's very true. And they do a really good job, continuing to frame the original Scott and then having him get lost in the sea of Scotts. They do a really good job highlighting when you're supposed to be focusing on one, you know?
Yeah.
There were... I'm trying to think of, what other things I kind of liked. There's... They attempt an aspect ratio shift when Big Ant-Man shows up, and it, kind of works, but,
I don't even know if I noticed.
Yeah, it's during the climax when he shows up big. There's screen widens to fit him, and that's a trick they've done.
Oz
before.
Great and Powerful moment.
I do think that Majors is really going for it in this.
Yeah, Majors is killing it.
He's kind of running circles around everyone.
Yeah.
Even though there are other people who are good in this. Michelle Pfeiffer's good in this. Catherine Newton's good in this. Paul Rudd's pretty good in this, although they give him some one-liners that are very annoying.
Paul Rudd's doing the best he can
with the material. Yeah.
It's funny. He's saved a lot by his natural charisma.
Yeah, it's funny because we'll talk about Frozen Empire in a bit, but I watched Frozen Empire before this, and I was expecting to feel similarly about this, but just watching the father-daughter stuff, I was like, this is so much less interesting and more generic than the father-daughter stuff in Frozen Empire.
Yeah. Frozen Empire, I liked. I left it going, I enjoyed it. This is just so bland across the board.
Yeah, it's quite poorly done.
Yes.
There are shots that are very reminiscent of Spy Kids 3D Game Over, a movie that was probably made for a 30th of the budget.
Yeah, and a movie that whips ass.
Yeah.
Where did all the budget go? It's one of those movies.
It is. It is really one of those movies.
Where did it? Who's laundering money through Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
Yeah, there are scenes where you can really tell none of the actors are in the same room. There are, scenes where you can tell they've had things happen off screen so that they won't have to render the effects.
The fact that David Dastmalchian, is that how you say his name? He voiced a character in this, meaning that he has 2 different Ant-Man specific MCU characters he's played at this point. And when I saw his name in the credits, I was like, the whole point of these movies is that you're supposed to like be able to connect everything, and everything's going to feel connected, and you're going to like know, like, oh, I recognize that guy from that weird one reference, or like I know, like I always think of the principal in the MCU Spider-Man movies is the descendant of the Howling Commando, and there's like pictures in the back of his office that you're supposed to be able to be like, oh my god, it's the guy from the first Captain America movie. And being lazy enough to just recast a dude who was in the previous Ant-Man movies as a different dude feels like they just lost the plot of what they were even trying to do with the MCU.
Yeah, there have been other times where that's happened. I mean, obviously, Sean Gunn plays a few characters in the Guardians movies and things like that.
Sean Gunn is, I feel like, a special example.
Right.
Yeah. It's like one thing was like, oh, Chris Evans is Captain America now, and he used to be the Human Torch in like previous Marvel worlds, whatever. But something about it being like in the same, because his character from the Ant-Man movies maybe makes an appearance in Endgame. I don't remember. I just remember he has kick-ass sideburns. But it's just like so muddled and so non-specific in a way that I feel like defeats the point of like what the MCU was even cool about to begin with in the first place.
Yeah, muddled is definitely a good word for this movie.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of things with the basic plot that if you think about it for too long, you're like, if Kang was truly exiled, why would they exile him to the quantum realm where they can't find him and kind of anything can happen?
Yeah, and if there's like a bajillion different, I guess like the post-credit scene is like supposed to express the way that like that one Kang was different from the other Kangs, but it still feels like why they never explain why he was the one that got exiled. I don't think, or if they did, it like wasn't clear enough to me.
Yeah, it's a little muddy. I was thinking maybe he got exiled by the other Kangs, but I don't know if that's really said. And I don't know why that would be, because he's not particularly impressive.
No.
It's also, they really bet the farm on Majors in some ways that feel very ironic now.
Yeah.
Like, having the post-credit scene just be like, here's every Kang, and they're all Jonathan Majors.
Yep.
Like, it's the one character where you don't need to do that.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see like the Office on the day that they realized they weren't going to be able to use Jonathan Majors anymore.
Yeah.
There's a Succession episode.
Yeah, it could be like an episode of The Studio where Seth Rogen's character is like, "Oh shit, we can't use this guy."
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie is messy.
Yep. It's a movie where the behind the scenes stuff is more interesting than what's happening on screen. Which is hilarious because I think being on set for this movie was probably the most boring thing on the planet, because it was just you and like a green ball on a stick, and you knew that Michael Douglas was off in another room having his tea, and like that was all you did all day was just sit and stare at a green screen.
Yeah, another like very Rick and Morty moment is the hole guy. The guy who's like,
yeah, I have holes,
obsessed with holes.
Yeah,
and then his emotional through line is that he gets holes at the end, and then he kills a couple guys. Like, that's a very, it's just exhausting. Yeah. It's an exhausting movie. It's
like, is this guy gonna be in the next Avengers movie? Is Holes guy gonna be really critical?
They brought in so many, and that's something that's sort of characteristic of Marvel movies in this era.
Yeah.
Like Eternals and Thor Love and Thunder and some of the other ones, is they just bring in so many new characters, and you're already so checked out. You're like, I can't treat these people like they're fucking Iron Man.
Yeah.
You know, I can't treat these like the Howling Commandos. Like, there's too many people and they're not interesting.
Yeah. I pick one dude, please.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of too many people, You know, what movie has too many people is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is so overstuffed, and I was, from the majority of the movie, impressed with how it like knew that it couldn't focus on the old guys, and was like, this is a movie about Phoebe, but like the old guys will be there as set dressing until the final act, and it was just like a wet fart, you know.
There's like a dozen Ghostbusters.
There's so
in this
many
movie.
Ghostbusters, and it's like
it's
like if the whole point of making the new Ghostbusters was that now I get to have the cool Ghostbusters that are Finn Wolfhard and Podcast and Phoebe, like it's fun to have the old guys there as backup, but where's Podcast by the end of the movie? Knocked out or whatever. No, it's the other guy that's knocked out. I don't know. When you have to knock out a character for the entire final fight sequence just to minimize the number of people on screen, you maybe have too many characters.
It's kind of the same thing that happens in that Spider-Man movie where it's like the climax is just 3 Spider-Men fighting some bad guys, and it's like, that's not more interesting or exciting than having a Spider-Man. Yeah. Like, it's not like it just multiplies. And this is the same thing where it's like, you've got fucking 12 Ghostbusters fighting this bad guy, and it's just like, this is too many damn Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Fighting maybe the goofiest villain I've seen in a long time. And I watched all the bonus features. There were a bunch of bonus features on this DVD. And at one point, the director is talking about how he really wanted the villain to be like creepy and scary. And I could not stop laughing. Like, I was laughing in this man's face because he managed to create the dumbest looking villain I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
He was truly acting like it was like God's gift to monster movies.
What they're clearly trying to do is replicate what would be a really fun practical monster from like from like Ghostbusters, but making him with CG, which defeats the purpose and just doesn't work.
Well, I was going to say, as we were talking about the ending already, what happens in this movie?
Okay, so we pick up kind of where the previous movie left off. The family of the the Spanglers.
The Spangler. It's Harold Ramis's daughter.
Yeah, Egon's daughter, played by Carrie Coon, and her boyfriend, played by Paul Rudd, and their kids, Finn Wolfhard and McKenna Grace. What are these characters'
It's
names?
Trevor and Phoebe are the kids.
Trevor and
Paul
Phoebe.
Rudd plays Gary Gruberson.
Gary Gruberson. So at the start of the movie, they are the Ghostbusters, and then they cause some classic Ghostbusters mayhem. And they basically, William Atherton is back, and he's back. And he's like, you can't have a kid being a Ghostbuster. So Phoebe is off the case because she's 15, and she has to wait 3 years to be a Ghostbuster now. But we also have, just to run through all the Ghostbusters, we have those 4. We have Podcast and Celeste O'Connor.
Lucky.
Whatever. Yeah. Lucky. We have Podcast and Lucky, who are still in the mix. Podcast is
living in a really sketchy situation where he's living in Dan Aykroyd's basement.
Yeah. Lucky is working for Winston's foundation. We have Winston returning. We also have Peter Venkman and Ray Stantz returning, and we have Melnitz, the Annie Potts character, is also now a Ghostbuster. And then we also have new characters.
New people like James Acaster. A delight.
Like James Acaster.
Did not know he was in this movie.
And fucking Kumail Nanjiani is not really a Ghostbuster, but he is part of the team.
He's there too.
So it's like, So you have like the original Ghostbusters, the Gen X Ghostbusters, and
Patton Oswalt.
and the Zoomer Ghostbusters. And Patton Oswalt is the new librarian, but the old librarian's also still there. Do I have any history on this? Let me see. I think I have a little bit because Sony like moved forward on this pretty quickly. They announced it at CinemaCon 2022, which is also where they announced Venom 3 and El Muerto with Bad Bunny. That never ended up happening. Jason Reitman was going to direct this one after doing the first one, but he dropped out of it to focus on Saturday Night, handed it over to Gil Keenan, who co-wrote the first one. This movie was influenced by the real Ghostbusters cartoon. You can definitely tell that they're going for that kind of like sci-fi animated show vibe. I mean, I don't have a ton, honestly. Like they kind of just like got the ball rolling on it.
I feel like
the movie did okay. It ended up kind of making money, but it got the worst reviews of any Ghostbusters movie. Now they're doing an animated show, so they've clearly kind of changed courses. It was a dud. And I think last time I was a little reticent to say that, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a dud.
It definitely, because I saw Afterlife, the one that came before this, in theaters, and I had a grand time. I absolutely adore Phoebe Spangler. She's one of my favorite like original characters introduced in one of these like big legacy franchises in a long time. She is my fave. And I didn't see this one in theaters, even though I really liked the first one and I was kind of excited to see what they did with it. It felt like the promotion knew that it was going to flop and they didn't super try. They like sold all the toys and they made all the like tie-in stuff that you have to make for a movie like this. But then it felt like it kind of just was a blip. Like it came and went and no one really gave a shit.
Yeah. I think one of the main problems is that like the whole marketing campaign and the title were all built around the Frozen Empire idea, the like image of New York freezing over and the Ghostbusters building freezing over, the firehouse, and then like that's like 10 minutes of the movie.
So unimportant to the grand scheme of things,
right?
And the whole thing,
like if I was going to fix this, one of my first things would be just have New York be cold the whole movie. Just film it in the fucking winter.
Oh, well, they barely filmed in New York. In watching all of the bonus features, it seems like the entire thing was filmed in London on sound stages.
There's the shots where they're outside the library are so clearly blue screened, and it's like, it's literally, you can just go there. It's the library.
Many films have filmed there before. You could do it again. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But no, that's all green screen, blue screen actually, I should say. They were using a lot of blue screen. And they were clearly like on set in New York for like 2 days, and most of it was probably like even a B crew. Like it wasn't even like I doubt that the director was on set. They just needed to like film the car pulling out of the fire station, and that was all they seemed to film in New York, and otherwise it was blue screen in London.
You can tell. You can tell they did not spend a lot of time in New York. But even more so, if you're using fucking blue screens, why can't you make it cold?
Yeah, it could just be cold in New York. It could be frozen.
And it could be the middle of summer, and they could be like, why is New York frozen? And that could be the thing that drives the rest of the story, instead of them just fucking finding a ball.
This is a movie very concerned with balls.
It is. It certainly is. There's also, the good subplot of this movie is the Romeo and Juliet story with Phoebe and the ghost.
Phoebe gets to be kind of gay with a ghost.
That's right.
Kind of gay.
It's very like, I mean, They don't go all the way, but the part where she's like, I'm going to briefly kill myself so that we can physically touch each other is so romantic.
It's so good. I am a sucker for a ghost romance. I love when I'm reading my fanfic and I find that ghost AU, I'm seated, I'm ready. And they said, we're going to take Phoebe Spangler and she's going to fall in love with a ghost and she's going to, like, that core for the movie works so well. And with you have all the other like random characters just sort of like as random background characters for that subplot, and maybe it's cold the whole time, you've got a banger of a movie.
Mm-hmm. It gets convoluted because Melody, the ghost, is somehow working on behalf of this cold demon.
Garrick is can hypnotize ghosts. So so Phoebe is not allowed to be a Ghostbuster because of child labor laws and is benched. And Paul Rudd is trying to like talk with her about it. This movie is also about fathers and daughters.
It sure is.
And sort of about Paul Rudd manning up, being the stepdad that stepped up.
That's so true.
But then in her like sadness, Phoebe meets this ghost. They hit it off. They're in love. And then there's a lot of stuff in the middle of the movie that's just sort of fucking around with the ball to try and figure out like why things are going on and what things are. And there's a lot of technology introduced specifically to be a MacGuffin later in the movie.
Did you notice that Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon completely disappear for like 45 minutes in the middle of this?
Yeah. And they don't really interact. Like, it's like the most bland, sexless, uninteresting relationship in the entire movie. There's the one scene where Paul Rudd gives this amazing deadpan performance of the Ghostbusters song.
True.
And that's the only time in which there's any chemistry or interaction of any kind between those two characters that are supposed to be like a central relationship to the movie.
Yeah, I think Carrie Coon is great in this. I think she's like really bringing it, and she's kind of like similar to Majors in Quantumania. It's kind of like whenever she's on screen, the movie gets bumped up a star. But like, she's playing it so real that it's hard to kind of pair her with any Paul Rudd character. You know, like she belongs in a different movie.
Yeah. Everyone's sort of so separated out into their own worlds in this movie. And it works to have like the pacing and having everyone doing their own thing means that like I'm always like, what's happening next? Kind of in a way that reminded me of the very last Star Wars movie, where it was like there was so much fucking happening and so many characters that every 2 seconds we had to switch to another plot line. So the whole time I'm like, I'm eating my popcorn. I'm like, what in the world is going to happen in this movie? And oh my God, now we're having like a Ray Winston moment, which is like important to me. And like now we're getting now James Acaster's blowing something up. Okay, whatever. There were like whole like extra new ghosts made that they talked about a lot in the bonus features because of like the effects that they were using and the practical work they put into those ghosts, which is cool. But it's also like, what was the point of like the spitting ghost? What was the point of the glow in the dark ghost that I confused with the main villain because they had the same design for some reason?
When there are practical effects in this movie, they look cool.
Yeah.
Like when the Slimer stuff looks cool.
Yeah.
The you know, just like the CG ghosts trying to intermingle with the more practical ghosts sort of gives it a weird feeling, because it's like there are parts of this that are clearly going for like original Ghostbusters vibes, and parts of this that are very modern, very Marvel formula at times.
Yeah.
Some of the quips that we get in that opening chase are just you know classic one-liners. It is just like, you know, I mean they kind of do a Slimer what they did with Yoda in the Last Jedi, where like they're using the practical stuff and they're putting like a sheen and a glow on it, and they have him in like a giant pile of like chip bags in the attic, which is really fun. I think Slimer is used the right amount in this. I think this is like, Slimer doesn't really need to be in it, but if he's going to be there, they use him like for enough of a gag, and then to do the like, oh, I know him thing at the end, where it's like, it's just enough.
Yeah. And like they built a lot of practical props and stuff that work well, and it because even like Marvel won't build a practical like costume. They'll just be like, he's wearing a green suit with like dots on it, like the Ant-Man.
Yeah, just like smack your chest before you walk, and then we'll have the suit form around you.
The Ant-Man suits look like shit for so many reasons.
They do.
And eventually Billy's has like the weird plastic boob mold that is so impractical and dumb. And they just look like Paul Rudd walking across screen in that suit looks like garbage. Ghostbusters, at least it's like, that's a real proton pack. They built a proton pack. It lights up. And I know that Adam Savage did a bunch of like behind the scenes touring, like cross promotion for this movie for his YouTube channel. And so there's some level of like, I respect that they were like, we are going to build a box that the character will get into and will interact with. And there will be buttons that you press and things feel, there's a physicality that really helps the movie overall, from the fact that they like, we built an interior set for the firehouse, and we built this laboratory set. Even if everything else about the movie is going to feel kind of fake, at least this feels real,
Yeah, there are there are annoying things about this movie that are just like part of what was set up in the last one, where like there's this sense of reverence around like the Ghostbuster legacy that doesn't really fit the idea of Ghostbusters very well. There's this sort of retconning that like that like Egon is now like the main Ghostbuster, and he was like they sort of inflate, like obviously he was the techie guy in the original, but they sort of inflate like how much like the main Ghostbuster he was. It was kind of funny to me that like they were like, Phoebe, you can't come ghostbusting with us. You can go play chess in the park alone instead. like there is very little monitoring of Phoebe, even though there's apparently a safety concern.
I appreciate that it felt more like the first Ghostbusters in the sense that it was just kind of dumb and funny and leaning into its funny comedy bits. As much as I liked Afterlife, it is such a legacy sequel in the reverence that it has for the Ghostbusters, that just like starting off and being like, oh yeah, Bill Murray will be in the movie and he'll be there for like 5 seconds and not really give a shit, and like that'll be the funny gag, works way better within the Ghostbusters world.
Yeah, and I think there are elements thrown in with like, like Kumail's character kind of brings some of that like slacker fuck up energy. Yeah. There are little things that kind of bring it back, but it's kind of trying to be all the Ghostbusters movies at once, which, speaking of, I mean, James Acaster is nice to see.
Love him.
He doesn't really have any reason to be there in a movie that without him already has 10 Ghostbusters.
His character easily could have been subsumed into any of the other characters on screen.
Or, easy fix, have Kate McKinnon be that character.
That's so true. Oh my god. Sometimes I think about
like James Acaster is basically playing Holtzman. Like just have Kate McKinnon, like everyone, even though that movie was controversial or whatever, like people liked Kate McKinnon.
Recocking like the ghost fighting proton gun and then like licking it lives rent free in my head to this day. I have not seen that movie since I saw it in theaters, and it lives in my head.
Of course.
Oh god, that would have been so good.
That would just be something. And that's just like, even though that character doesn't have a lot to do, if it was Kate McKinnon, you'd at least be like, yeah, it makes sense that she's in this movie.
Damn. The thing with podcast living in Ray's basement does still like weird me out to an extreme degree. Like, I know it's supposed to be a gag or whatever, but it's like, this is really weird.
It's very weird.
I think the thing about like podcasts trying to like get Ray to be YouTube famous was funny. I think there could have been more playing with the sort of like old Ghostbusters, new Ghostbusters, but they don't. They just sort of are like, here are the old Ghostbusters and these are the things they care about. And here are the new Ghostbusters and things they care about. And together they fight ghosts, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a little bit of the tension of like Winston trying to kind of expand the Ghostbusters,
which makes
brand,
total sense for him. And like I love what they do with all the characters. There's just so many of them.
There's a lot going on in this movie, and when I compare this to Quantumania, this is definitely better at the sort of like cut and dry like fundamental things. Like it's the dialogue's a little better, the father-daughter stuff is a little better, there's better action and like it's more balanced on that core level. But I so much more so admire what Quantumania was going for.
Intriguing.
That I find myself almost walking away from this like more glad that I rewatched Quantumania than that I watched Frozen Empire.
That's interesting. I can't say that I agree because I have just a real soft spot for these newer Ghostbusters movies. And I just could. The Quantumania was better than I thought it was going to be, but it was still just such a nothing burger. Whereas in Ghostbusters, I was like, there's a gay ghost in this movie. there's stuff happening that I actually want and like engage with on a level more than anything that was going on in Quantumania.
Yeah, I think it's like a Nothing Matters movie versus an Everything
That's
Matters
a good way to
movie.
Put it. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, they're both pretty mid. They're both movies that I probably won't rewatch anytime soon, if ever.
Yeah. I would call them both movies that if you have any kind of soft spot for those characters, you should watch them, and otherwise you really don't have to.
There's no reason to look into either of these unless you're like a huge Kumail Nanjiani fan or something,
Mm-hmm. If you like older, checked out Bill Murray, you've got two movies to throw in the list.
It was really fun in the bonus features. Everyone was talking about how Dan Aykroyd is apparently like the lore master on set and the one that like sits there and like cares about Ghostbusters. But then also they would cut back to like a Dan Aykroyd talking head, and he'd be like, "Well, all the other people who worked on this movie, they're professionals." It was just him being like, "Yep, there other people worked on this movie, and they were on set." And that's it. Yeah. Like he had nothing to say about the production of this movie. It was really funny.
It's really great. I love the autistic representation we get from Dan Aykroyd.
Yes. Part of why I love Phoebe is because I think she's one of the best like weird girls we've gotten in movies in a long time. Where it's like she just genuinely is like a weird and off-putting person, but like you love her for it.
Yeah, she's so not any of the like classic archetypes. Like she's kind of the nerd girl, but she's also like a little bit emo, but not really. And like she feels authentic.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
In a way, there's kind of like the Phoebe Carrie Coon sort of pathway and the Paul Rudd Finn Wolfhard pathway, and they're like very separate things.
Yeah. Those are the two genders, Paul Rudd or Carrie Coon.
So true. So this brings us to the part of the show where we do our drafts. I think I would like you to go first.
Oh, okay. I was thinking we'd either roll another D20, flip a coin.
Well, I do have the D20.
Perfect. Okay. I don't have one on me, but I can roll a D20.
We're going to do a D20 again, and maybe we'll think of a different way next time.
Yeah. Well, I rolled a 2.
And I rolled an 8.
Does that mean that you get to decide? Is this a Family Feud situation? Are you going to play or pass?
Pass or play?
Yeah.
I'm just going to play.
Okay.
I'm going to take a stab, and I am going to kind of snipe something that is small, but I just don't think it's going to have a lot of competition. Non-binary actor Celeste O'Connor, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yep. That's a good snipe. It would take it would be interesting to find where in the filmography of Paul Rudd we get another contender for that role, for that award.
There may be some.
This is true.
We'll have to find out.
This is true.
We'll have to find out. If there is another, then it's tough.
Yeah.
Then we're fighting.
Now I'm going to be really on the lookout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For my first pick this week, I am going to do... Ooh, I have a couple I really feel strong about. But I'm going to do Best Stunts Gen Y Cops.
Interesting. That, I mean, hey, if we're bringing stunts into the conversation, then Gen Y Cops is going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
And of course, as the rules state, any category that we introduce will be part of the awards.
Yeah.
Wow. So if there's a stunt category that puts me in a situation,
not to totally derail your plan.
Fuck. Shit. Because we had talked about how you neglected to take anything from They Came Together last time, and I was expecting you to do that first. But if stunts are in the conversation, then the question is, do I need to pull something into stunts, or can I continue going my own way for now? And, maybe I'll have lost stunts, but maybe that's a trade.
There's a lot more movies to watch.
There are a lot more movies to
Who knows?
watch.
Maybe Death of a Unicorn has the greatest stunts you've ever seen.
As I recall, there was some. I'm going to have to do it. Breakout star Paul Rudd, Halloween 6.
Interesting. True. You're not wrong. I'm going to do Best Special Effects, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Okay.
Just a solid pick.
The thing with all these movies is that they all have some very cool effects and some bad effects. Yes. But it's fair to say, the good stuff in Frozen Empire is worth celebrating.
Yep.
I think I'm going to have to make an effects poll too, just because I think all of these are going to be part of the effects conversation. And I think I'm going to grab Gen Y Cops for effects.
Ooh. Okay.
I mean, we talked about that robot.
We did talk about the robot. The robot's pretty cool. There's a lot of digital pipes, digital tubes. Now, I've already pulled someone for this category, but mostly just because I ran out of ideas last time. So I'm mostly going to be replacing this person, but I'm going to pull supporting actor Jonathan Majors, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, I think it would be fair to speculate that we are not going to give an award to Jonathan Majors.
No.
But, he is undeniably pulling his weight in that movie.
He is holding a lot of that movie together.
Yeah. It should not be overlooked. Now I'm debating if I should get into our rule that we can pick things from previous episodes.
Same.
Because the fact is, I don't think it's very likely that any of these movies are going to be major players. I think this week of movies, will do well in the technical categories maybe, but are not going to be huge for us. However, there are 2 or 3 other things in this camp of movies that I do want to put on the table. So I'm gonna stick with what we have here, and I'm going to say best on-screen couple: McKenna Grace and Emily Allen Lind in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Interesting. I have a silly idea, which is to directly counter that one with best on-screen couple: Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler. They came together.
Well, hey.
Just to keep things interesting.
You're allowed to.
Just to keep things interesting. And I did really need to get some They Came Together onto my draft. It's outrageous that I didn't do anything last time.
Yeah. I could pull an on-screen couple from Wet Hot, and that would not be an unwise thing to do. However, how is it smart for us to just keep pulling things for one category? Yeah. That seems like it'll be diminishing returns. Yeah. So I'm going to let me cross-reference with our previous drafts.
Yeah, I'm looking at the previous drafts now. Just pull a best picture poll out of this assortment.
You want tricky? Because I'll be candid and say that the thing I'm thinking about from this batch is score, Alan Howarth, Halloween 6. But I think I'm going to snipe one that I suggested to you last time. And I'm going to take best song, Higher and Higher, from Wet Hot American Summer.
Valid. It's a good poll. I think for my last one today, because if I did count right, this is my last one.
It sure is.
I'm going to do best hair and makeup, Gen Y Cops.
Okay. There is really good hair in that movie.
There's really good hair. There's really good makeup. I think it is a stellar standout. I considered also doing costumes. I just really love the look and feel of the characters in that movie, but I'm going to go with best hair.
Yeah. Hair and makeup is another category that, now that it's in there, is gonna make drafting more difficult.
I also, some of the other categories I was writing down as I was thinking was like sexiest Paul Rudd, scariest movie, worst screenplay.
Worst, there's room for some worsts in here. I would say that there was a category I was thinking of last time that was going to be like funniest Rudd moments, and I was thinking about like the scene of him like picking up his mess in the kitchen in Wet Hot, or the
Wanderlust, that thing,
the Wanderlust mirror scene. Yeah. I'm gonna put my dick in my erection selection. So I guess those are our drafts this week. And for those of you keeping score at home, we've now made 10 drafts apiece. We can make up to 20. So after the next 2 episodes, there's going to have to be some trading and some dropping.
I'm excited. I've got some stuff I'm already ready to drop. I got to get some other movies up in here.
And as a reminder, these drafts will all culminate in the season finale, where we will give out the awards and determine which one of us won the season.
Yes. When really the true winner will be Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd's the big winner this time. That thing is clear. It would be really funny if we come out of the awards having not given anything to Paul Rudd.
This is true. Like, listen, is it like I feel like maybe we're over. There's so much Paul Rudd. It's hard to remember that Paul Rudd is there, you know?
It's true. And, you know, there's good and bad Rudd in this set.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to pick out the like exceptional Rudd performances. Yes. So that's a challenge for this season.
I was thinking as a closer, something that might be fun is hitting up some of the one of my favorite things to do for fun is to look at the Parents Guide on IMDb for movies. And I think finding a couple of good gems for a movie that we watched that week might be a fun way to close out episodes.
Yes.
And then in theory, there's also maybe audience could submit some of their favorite sound bites.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. I'm trying to think of where the best place to submit would be. We'll figure that out. Probably commenting on the episode. Perhaps we could look at the Parents Guide.
I've got Halloween 6 pulled up. Yeah.
Halloween?
Yep.
Yeah.
Under frightening and intense scenes, one person submitted one of the most scary / frightening and intense Halloween movie. And Halloween and movie are both capitalized.
That's very true.
Several graphic death scenes are shown on screen, and they are quite disturbing. Many frightening, in quotes, jump scenes appear in the film, and they may be considered intense for some audiences.
I have one here. A man is electrocuted until his head explodes. Parentheses, very graphic and bloody.
A man is stabbed in the stomach. Not shown very clearly.
A woman is shown having been stabbed in the stomach. The stabbing is not shown.
A woman is giving birth, but no nudity.
Mm-hmm.
A couple have implied
sex. We then see them in bed together as we see the girl's breasts for 5 seconds. Period. Brief.
And that's Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. That's what
really
it's all about.
There are many death scenes in this movie. None too scary. Almost feels more like a drama film.
Oh, I love you, IMDb Parents Guide.
So true. IMDb Parents Guide is a really good idea, and I think we will be doing it in future episodes.
Yes.
Which means that you, the listener, can send IMDb Parents Guide suggestions for the movies we talk about, or any movies we mention, or whatever's relevant.
Yeah. There's some good ones out there.
Do we have any closing thoughts to kind of bring us home here? I think thank you to everyone who's been listening.
Thank you.
As you can tell, we're still in the early stages of this show, and it's going to grow a lot, but we're having a lot of fun talking about these movies with you.
Thank you to my friends that have given me feedback so far. I appreciate it. It is helping us make the show better.
Yes. All feedback is welcome.
Feedback welcome.
And you can see we've already made some good improvements. Next episode. Shall we get into it?
Let's dive into it. There's some... Remind me what the theme is for the next episode.
The theme for the next episode is based on a book.
Yes. There's some stuff in here that I've wanted to see for a long time.
I am personally very excited to see The Great Gatsby with Paul Rudd as Nick Carraway.
Yes. I am also very excited for that. I'm really excited for The Catcher Was a Spy, because I really wanted to see that when it came out. And it just lives kind of rent-free in my head as like that one wild time that Paul Rudd did a like dramatic spy sports movie. It feels very singular, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah. It seems like something that'll really stand out in this crop. We're also going to talk about Admission with Tina Fey. I did see that with my mom in theaters, and I did not know it was based on a book. But
I didn't know it was based on a book either. It's one that I confused with Wanderlust a lot because the trailers came out and were very similar. So I'm excited to be able to tell them apart.
Yeah. We're also talking about P.S. and The Fundamentals of Caring, 2 movies that I know very little about.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about them. So it'll be an exciting break away from these sort of franchises and repeating things and characters that are the same into a world of who even knows.
Yeah, it'll be a fun grab bag, and I think we'll be looking at different eras, different sort of modes for Paul Rudd. It'll be really interesting to talk about.
Fantastic.
Hope you'll join us. All right.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something else? It's important. What? Speak your no. It makes.
Get out.